This is 234 minutes of sales training that will explode your commissions in 2025. If you don't know who I am, my name is Josh Lyons, and as a high-ticket closer, I was able to go from $0 to earning over $100,000 per month in commissions within 17 months. I then went on to train top sales teams in the industry like Alex Hormozi's old gym launch sales team. And I took them to their highest close rates in over a year. And now I run alongside my mentor a private mastermind for salespeople who want to become the top 0.0001% of salespeople that is called the Unicorn Closer Mastermind. And every single week inside that mastermind, closers have invested a minimum of $12,000 to get access to a weekly live training run by myself. And in that weekly live training, we do call reviews, we do role plays, and I teach them the advanced sales methodology, which is scriptless selling and internal mastery, that allowed me to live the life of my dreams by earning a massive living as a closer. And as a result of showing up, of putting in the work and having access to a mentor that has already accomplished what these closers want to accomplish, we have closers like Skylar, who is now earning over $83,000 a month in commissions by getting access to this weekly live training. We have closers like Manuel, who is earning over $63,000 per month in commissions by getting access to this weekly live training. Now, for the first time ever, and possibly the last time, we are going to give you access to one of these weekly live trainings so that you can see for yourself what it really takes to master high-ticket sales. What does it really take in terms of the training? What does it really take in terms of the environment? What does it really take in terms of mastering psychology, human behavior, and communication to be able to live the life of your dreams? To answer that question, buckle in, and you are going to get access to nearly 4 hours of sales training that if you implement and if you execute, it will become inevitable that you make more money in commissions right now. So without any further ado, let's crack in. All right, let's crack in, guys, with some wins. For those that are here for the first time, welcome aboard. Welcome to the Unicorn Closer Mastermind. We start these Wednesday calls with some wins for the next 10 minutes. Then we'll jump into training. That will be call reviews, role plays, and then Q&A at the end. So who has a win that they would like to share from this last 7 days? All right, David, off you go.
Awesome. Can you hear me all right? Mic's working?
I can, yep.
Awesome. My wife had our second daughter on Sunday, so new little baby girl, paid in full, objectionless close. So feeling really excited. You know, when you connect to that reason why you show up here, everything's super easy. So really happy about that.
Absolutely. Love it. All right, Jeremy.
Yeah, after the role play or the call review with you that got uploaded to YouTube, I've started going back through and I completely transcribed the entire role play and studied that transcription of that. And on my first call that I had, I ended up, going through and ended up going through as much of the quantifying as much as possible, and was able to close a sale a little bit smaller than I normally would have done, just to get some cash in the, not leave any money on the table. So that's a win.
Beautiful. Show up, do the work, guys, get paid. Very simple. All right, Skylar.
Yo, just wanted to share a great win. Last week, got to spend the entire week in Miami with my company and a bunch of our clients, and I got like an hour of sizzle reel testimonials. So just feeling fired up to spend time with clients in person and just get to interview them about the experience they had after I sold them last year. So that was one of the coolest things, and carrying the energy into the week. Our team is on a great pace right now. Me, Nicole, Brian all got ifs at 32Ks, and it's not even Wednesday yet, man. So just stoked for the team.
Let's go.
Love that. All right, Nikhil.
Yeah, so small win. Doing the schedule the way you taught, absolute game changer. Now, I've tried for years to write down a schedule and follow it, and I've never been able to do it. And that's just because I was always trying to follow it down to the minute, and I would always get upset because I couldn't do it. Just putting these hour blocks and following, doing the things in the launch pad, my sleep's the best it's ever been. So it's awesome.
That's
Glad
a
to hear
sexy
it.
calendar right there.
Love
I gotta say that looked really good. You could tell that he took his time with the ruler and all of that. Like it was fucking sexy.
I measured it out to the
Yep.
the quarter inch.
Yeah.
Love it. Love it. All right, last one. Brother, how do I pronounce your name? Is it Joaquim?
Joachim. It's French.
Say
Joaquim.
it again for me.
Joachim.
Joaquim. All right,
Yes.
brother. Share your win with us.
Yes, pleasure to be here. First time on this call. I joined 2 weeks ago.
Nice.
And it was a shit month, and that's why I joined. And that was a tough first week. Like I felt like I have a lot of mind virus, a lot of shit like that. And I really commit. Like in 5 days, only content from this mastermind, only sales, only listening to calls. Fucking awesome state. Just finished a close right now. And I like three close today. A fourth one will get the payment tomorrow. Like, let's go. I had a period like 2 weeks without closing. Like shit, never had that. Like it's gone. It's right now. It's over. It's game over. But I have to keep humble, keep showing up, keep doing the work, and
That's amazing.
inevitable.
So you were in a rut before you joined, took action, committed, going through the training, and then you've broken the rut and starting to close deals. Love that.
Yes.
Well done. One recommendation for you. I don't know if you've got to the video yet. We have a video called The Professional. I would recommend that you get a microphone. If you're using just the microphone on the MacBook or whatever computer you're using, it is quite difficult to hear you. And if I was a prospect, it would make me have to use my brain more just to try and hear you instead of just listening to your questions and answering the questions. So I would, on your next paycheck, I know you had a bad month, so you maybe didn't have a good paycheck last one. On the next commission check, if you have the money, don't put yourself in a bad situation, but I would take some of the money and I would invest in a microphone. Okay.
Okay. As soon as possible, I get it.
Love it. Beautiful. All right, let's crack into the first call review. Let's see how far we get. Who's got the first one?
I think I snuck in there. I'll resend it.
Yes, please. Thank you. All right, got it now. All right, guys, pen, paper, notes. Let's dive in. The first bit, checking the 4 core pillars, making sure that we're nailing that right. We're not adding in buts or any additional words that we don't want, but most importantly, checking the energy at the front part of the call, because as we've seen from a number of call reviews, if your energy's off in the beginning, I can pretty much tell you what happens for the rest of the call without going more than 15 seconds into the call review.
Minute 45 to get it started.
Yeah. All right. Perfect.
Hey, Ashley, welcome in. Down at the bottom of your screen, there should be an icon to turn on your audio and video so I can hear you and see you.
Nice.
Hello, hello. This is Ian with Love Strategies. How are you doing today?
I'm doing
Great energy so far.
good, thank you.
Okay,
I have to
very
step
good.
out to my car so that I don't get interrupted.
Yeah, I was gonna.
All right. I stepped out to my car so I don't get interrupted. Let's analyze that very quickly. What does that mean, guys? So I don't get interrupted.
My first thought was that she was probably going to be embarrassed to have this conversation around anybody else. And she
Potentially.
didn't want to talk about this in front of other people, but also that she's taking this call very seriously.
I like it. I like that we're on the same page, that she takes the call seriously. What I would improve is we don't want to assume what it is that was actually going on. All I know is that she mentioned, I don't want to get interrupted. So what does that mean? Like, what can we absolutely guarantee that that does mean in her life right now?
It means that she normally gets interrupted.
Not necessarily, but pretty close. It means that at this exact moment in time, if she was in the house or wherever she's outside, it's likely that she was going to get interrupted.
Okay.
I don't know that it's because she doesn't want to have the conversation in front of people. That's an assumption. I don't know that she usually gets interrupted in her life. That's an assumption. But what I do know is that she made a conscious choice that if she had stayed at home, she was probably going to get interrupted. Now, why does that matter, guys?
Maybe she's not comfortable or safe in that environment that she was in.
Not comfortable or safe in what way?
Feeling like she's not surrounded by a group of people that she can be open around.
Her fight or flight response may be turned on.
All right, let's go with how come you've both got the same Ian? Oh no, that was my screen was calling you both the same people. So let's start with Ian's. Same as what I said to Jeremy. It could be true, but on a sales call, you don't want to assume anything. The moment you assume, you're just gambling with your commission and you're gambling with the person's life. So maybe it's true, but I don't know. Braden, then say what you said again.
I said it could be that, she's kind of in a fight or flight response simply because if she's used to getting interrupted or maybe was previously just getting interrupted, she may be in a non-receptive state.
That's closer, potentially, yeah. If she's in a place physically, emotionally, spiritually, mentally, where she's like, oh, I was about to get interrupted, she might be more tense than usual. Yep. Sam?
I mean, she's proactively taking measures to make sure she can be more focused for the call. So, I mean, for me, it's already a good sign. Like
Yep,
everything else outside.
That's absolutely true. It's a good sign. Let me give it to you guys. If someone says, I've had to leave the house so I don't get interrupted, knowing that she's in a place where she might get interrupted, I want to know why. So I would just say, oh, interesting. That's great that you took some time out. You didn't want to get interrupted. What was it that could have interrupted you? What was it that could have interrupted you? Now, she could turn around and say, my kids, my husband, my work, my this, my that. And I would then say, oh, why is it any particular reason that could have interrupted you? And if she turns around and says, well, yes, this call is very important to me, but right now with my work, things are crazy. And if I was in the house and my mobile rung or the phone rung or I was in front of my emails or whatever, it was highly likely that I got interrupted with something important to do. Why does that matter? Because now I'm starting to understand this person's current state. And right now on this call, I need to separate all of that stuff and get her to just focus on what's going on right now. And if someone is going to finish this call and go back to an environment where they are probably going to get interrupted, what is the likelihood that if we hadn't closed the deal on the first call, that she's going to get off that call and start thinking about objection handling herself, following up with me, doing anything like that? Very, very, very slim. So straight away, I'm thinking, if it's a fit for this prospect, I better fucking close this deal while she's on the phone. Because the moment she gets off the phone, she's going back to reality. Interrupted, busy, things going on. I don't know what's going on. I don't know if it's because she's uncomfortable having the conversation in front of people. All I do know is that she's in a place where she doesn't really have much alone time to do what's important to her, that she has to leave the place in order to get that opportunity. That's a big deal, guys. Because what are we actually selling someone on the phone? Your product and service? No. We're selling them thinking through things in a different way and therefore deciding things in a different way. The ability for someone to think through things in a different way and do something different with them is very much predicated on, do they even have the mental bandwidth to think things through? I'm not selling someone. I'm not just bringing them to a call, having a bit of a chit chat with them and saying, right, this is our product, here's the price. No, I'm actually needing someone to solve their own problems during this hour. Anybody ever heard the phrase on, the lights are on, but nobody's home? Well, I don't want this woman to be in that situation where we're on the phone call, but she's thinking about whatever else is going to interrupt her. Now, look at how professional and caring and beneficial to the sale it would be if I turned around and do this. Okay, just curious, what was it that could have interrupted you? Blank, blank, blank. I'm not going to give examples. I say, okay, any particular reason that could have interrupted you? Blank, blank, blank. She says, why? I then say, oh, interesting. Are you in a place where we can actually spend the time for an hour with you being 100% present and diving very deep into your love life and, what you've got going on, what you want to accomplish? Or is it better if we reschedule for a later time or another day, when I really appreciate that you've actually physically moved out of the house, but maybe mentally you have more bandwidth. She can turn around and say yes or no. Let's go down the scenario. She says, actually, Ian, if I'm Ian, that would be really appreciated. What happens? Number one, I now get the call on the calendar at another date where the probability of it closing is much higher. In other words, I didn't burn the lead. Number two, which is for the prospect's benefit, by the way, if they actually need to be on this call and they're trying to be on the call, but mentally their lights are on, but nobody's home, I'm not serving the prospect by just trying to, or consciously or unconsciously ignoring what she just said. Second thing, if she then reschedules with me for a different time, how much does she trust me now that number one, I heard what she said, number two, I cared about what she said, and then number three, I didn't pressure her to stay on the call. I was like, you know what? I don't need you to be here right now today. I want you to be here when we can actually try and solve this. She now hops on a follow-up call, which is not a follow-up, it's a reschedule for a different time. And she's like, wow, I already feel good. I already feel like I like this person and they care and they want to help me. So there's so many layers to this, guys, that you're not even thinking through. And this is how, instead of trying to focus on how do I close the one sale in front of me, having a much larger, broader mental model and philosophy, which is how do I be a better human being as a closer? And what ends up happening is you close more deals on the one call close, you close more deals on a reschedule, you close more deals because more people turn up because you're now emitting an energy, which is I give a fuck about people. The more you're aware of these things and present, the more everything in your life is just going to start conspiring in your favor. Does that all make sense? Yeah?
Yeah.
Oh, I had to leave the
Absolutely.
house because I've got a lot going on. Oh, because I thought I'd get interrupted. Oh, anything in particular that would have interrupted you? Straight away, we're into listening and caring and having a real conversation, not a scripted call, even though right now at the front part of the call, it is scripted in the sense of what do? You run the 4 cool pillars. Well, I ain't going to run the 4 cool pillars right now. If she says something that I think, well, that's important, I'll just put the 4 cool pillars to the side and have a quick chit chat about what's actually going on that she might get interrupted. Let's go down the path to finish this off where she says, no, I could have been interrupted, but this is really important. I need to take this phone call now. I've left the house so I don't get interrupted. Thank you for asking me if I'd like to reschedule. Let's continue. Immediately, trust level on the call through the roof. Detachment and the prospect's view of us being so detached through the roof. The likelihood that she wants to buy from us has already been exponentially increased. We haven't even got to the 4 cool pillars. You see how minute the little things are, guys. Within 1 second of the call, I'm already 100 steps ahead of you, playing a bigger game. I'm playing chess. You're playing checkers. Oh, well, maybe she didn't want to take the call in front of someone. No, that doesn't matter. What matters is she's got some shit going on. I care. I want to talk about it. What's going on? Why does that matter? Why could that have interrupted you? No worries at all. What's best for you, Mrs. Prospect? What's best for me, Jeremy, Josh, Ian, whoever the closer is? I'd like to continue with the call. Excellent. Now, before you just turn around and say, excellent, let's continue with the call, you have a moral and ethical duty to tie it down. Okay, you want to continue with the call. Excellent. Can I just confirm, are you 100% sure you're in a mental space, given that you've got some things that could interrupt you just a few feet away, that you can really be present, not just physically in the car, but also mentally? She then turns around and says, yes. That has now done 2 things. Shown that I'm an expert because I'm not willing to just move forward without a tie down. In other words, I don't need you, you need me. And number 2, it's made her actually make a conscious commitment to herself that she is going to be present. Whatever's going on in the house, in her mind as well, because she's thinking about the things that were going to interrupt her, she makes a conscious choice to take that out of her brain for an hour and put it to the side. This is all serving the prospect at a higher level. And when you serve people at a higher level, what happens to your bank account? It reflects the level of service and care and moral authority and responsibility that you show to other people. and we're not even 1 second into the call. All right, I'm done. Does that make sense?
That
Makes
was really
perfect
good.
sense. Say, I see you're in a car. You're not planning on driving, are you?
Nope. Nope. I'm just out in the parking lot of my shop.
Perfect. And so,
In her shop. So I am going to make an assumption here, and it's just to give an example, guys. I definitely wouldn't say this to the prospect. What if her shop is in chaos right now? And therefore, if she hadn't left the shop, she is going to get interrupted. That's not a good mind space for someone to be making a decision. I'm already getting this data from the prospect.
where are you located?
And Kearney, Nebraska.
Awesome. And I know we do have a limited amount of time today, so you ready?
Anybody else notice anything about the prospect?
She looks nervous.
Massively. Probably connected to the fact that the shop is in chaos, but we don't know that. We can't assume that. So what should we do without assuming if we're noticing something?
Ask her if she's okay.
Hey,
Acknowledge it.
I could be completely wrong, Ashley, and forgive me for being direct, but I get the sense that you're maybe a little bit nervous or something's going on. What's going to happen? She will do this. She'll go, and she'll either go, yeah, Jacob, you're 100% right. I'm super nervous. I've got the shop behind me. We've got so much going on. I had booked this call. I didn't want to ghost you. I've turned up to the call, but honestly, we got so much going on. What should you do? Probably reschedule the fucking call, because otherwise you're just wasting the lead, wasting her time, wasting your time. Or she's going to go, yeah, got so much going on, but you know what? I'm ready to crack in with this. Let's get on with it. What's going to happen is that the tension of her holding on to what's going on in her mind and in her heart and not being able to express it for any of you that haven't, or any of you that have started reading the book Letting Go, the whole point is when we're holding on to emotions, it is not good for you. Her just being able to see that someone noticed, someone cared, allows her to let the emotions go. Let the emotions go that, you know what, I'm super nervous. I want to take this call because I'm respectful and I'd scheduled it and I didn't want to ghost you. And you then have to read the room as a closer and be like, well, I think we should reschedule, because you can see that she's not in an emotional place that's going to serve her, that's going to allow this call to have a free run for her to do what she needs to on this call, which is really concentrate, really go deep, really take ownership, really take accountability, make a fucking commitment at the end of the call. Are you going to do nothing about this, or are you going to do something about it right now? She probably isn't in the mental space to be able to do that with everything that we've seen so far.
Hey, Josh, real quick. I experienced this a noticeable amount on Tax Alchemy on the setting calls. What are your thoughts on setting call versus closing call? Because I know we spoke about if somebody's like eating Chick-fil-A or they have like a kid in the background, is it to your best judgment, or what are your thoughts?
I think there's a much lower bar given that it's just a setting call. If someone's gone ahead and booked in a full closing call at a specific time, I think it's very professional and demonstrating expertise that if someone's not ready, not prepared, not present, to reschedule. With a setting call, you don't really have as much leverage over the prospect to kind of expect them to be sitting there as prepared. But I would have a limit, like if they're literally licking the fucking barbecue sauce off their chicken fingers while they're eating their chicken wings, and they're doing that for a few minutes, at some point I'm going to say, hey, totally understand you're on your break for lunch. This call is going to be pretty quick if we can actually like dive in. Can you just put the chicken wings down for 10 minutes and then we can just get this knocked out and see what the next steps are? Is that something you're willing to do? Yes. So if it's just blatantly obvious that they're so invested in what they're doing, which is not this call, at some point I'll call it out, but I wouldn't be as upfront for the first 5 minutes because they don't fucking know you. They didn't book in a call. Does that make sense?
It does. And this is a somewhat isolated thing, but it's happened a few times where people get on, they're very brash, and they say, hey, I know we're booked in for 30 minutes. I only have 10 to 15. Let's get going. Is that reschedule worthy? Or should we just try to...
The prospect said that.
Yeah, that's happened 2 or 3 times.
And do you need 30 minutes on a setting call?
It depends. If they're full-time W-2 and they know nothing about real estate, yeah, I need all that time to educate them so they actually have context to go into the into the sales call. But I don't know that until we get into it. And so,
Okay.
yeah.
So then two things are going to decide this. Your general lead flow. If your
Okay.
lead flow is higher and you've got an abundance of leads, I'd rather be managing my time where if someone says I've only got 15 minutes and I know that I might need 30, I just tell them, well, no worries, but we need 30 minutes. That's why we scheduled for 30 minutes, because I have things that I need to do. So if my lead flow is high, I would be more leveraging my stack of opportunities rather than trying my best to fit a square peg in a round hole. If my opportunities are low, I'll just go with it. The second thing is, what matters more then, once you've made that call to go for it or not go for it, is you're the one running the shots. In other words, you don't want to get 15 minutes in and the person says, oh, I need to go now. You want to get into the call and then you're the one saying, okay, I've got everything I needed within the first 15 minutes to get to the next part, which is me educating you on some of the things that we've got going on over here. I need those extra 15 minutes. Which is why we booked in for 30 minutes, but no worries. When do you have 15 minutes? You need to be the one cutting the call, telling them what's going on, not letting them run the decisions. Does that make sense?
It does. Yeah. 2 out of the 3 times this happened, I didn't move forward in the call because I figured we were going to get to that. So I was just trying to reschedule them and they didn't like it. They were like, I'm busy full time. You got me now. Let's get into it. And it's like, if we're going to go 15 minutes in now, what are the odds that we're going to find 15 minutes later? And then what are the odds on top of that you're going to have another hour later on, if at the time we booked in, you can't do the 30 if needed?
That's a very valid point. It's kind of like, okay, so you booked in a call for 30 minutes, but you only have 50 minutes. Any particular reason why that changed? Oh yeah, I'm super busy. Oh, excellent. Thanks for letting me know. Based on the fact that you're super busy, let's just get this all done in one call rather than us going backwards and forwards and trying to cram in another 50 minutes and spending a massive amount of time laboring over admin to try and reconnect. Let's just reschedule now. You could use that against them, but you have to start it with questions. Oh, any particular reason, we had a 30-minute call booked in and now you've only got 15. And if they turn around and say anything like, oh, something came up, things come up, I'm super busy, this is my lifestyle, just use it against them. Okay, great. Thanks for letting me know. That's awesome. If you're that busy, then, chasing you down and you chasing me down and having another 15 minutes and separating this into 2 calls doesn't make any sense. This is my suggestion. Let me know if that works for you. It's also
Sounds
frame
great.
control. Yeah.
Awesome.
Right.
Thank you, Coach.
Josh, I got a quick question about going back to the spotting this nervous behavior. I'm having a difficult time noticing this stuff. I was wondering if you could go back to that part and just play that again and point out the specifics of what you noticed so that I can better identify that, please.
It's her eyes. It's her eyes and her body language.
If any of you, thank you for doing that, Jeremy. That's excellent. If any of you are listening to anything I'm saying and thinking, it makes sense, but I didn't see it, you have to ask, guys. If you don't see it, we're going to go back and we're going to play it again. I'm going to point it out. There is no point me teaching you something that in the moment of the call, you didn't even see it coming. So if any of you on anything that we do for the rest of this 4 hours or any live training want to do what Jeremy did, you have a moral responsibility to man up, woman up, put your hand up and say, I didn't see it. So thank you for demonstrating that, Jeremy. Let's go back. Oh no, it's a bit later than that. 140.
Coming out of the pre-call Down at the checklist bottom. meditation.
What was that?
Oh, sorry. Just that little moment is me in my pre-call checklist meditation before letting her in.
Beautiful.
Your screen, there should be an icon to turn on your audio and video so I can hear you and see you.
I do have another question too, Josh, on
go for it.
energy when you start a call, because I've had clients that I've been coaching where I told them to be more neutral in their smiles, as an example, because like Ian's smiling here and he looks nice and everything, but I feel like when you're smiling, it's like it's like people pleasing type of thing, and you're trying to like get them to like you by smiling. And I'm wondering, and I told them, like, you have this like Labrador puppy, happy dog, energy, and we need to like calibrate that back a little bit. Whereas I'm too, I have too stern of a face, so I need to soften it up. So I have a question about smiling also when you enter a call like this.
Beautiful. So there's 2 levels of analysis for that. Level 1 is how far are you swinging the pendulum in either direction? In general, if it's too extreme one way or another, it's often, and I say often, coming from a place of falseness. You're too stern is because you're actually trying to put on this front that you're like super serious and super professional and you're not expressing any emotions and you're keeping your cards close to your chest. In other words, it's coming from a deep place of insecurity. The other extreme, overly friendly, overly smiley, puppy dog eyes, looking like a little Labrador because you're insecure that people don't like you and you want everybody to like you. So in general, we have the extremes. Neither of those are good. However, let me give you an example. You have met the underground mentor in person. When you meet the underground mentor in person and he is in the mode of being happy, you're like, fuck me, this guy's energy is through the roof as far as smiling, happy, having a blast, having a great time. So he's super extreme on one end, but that's when we have to look at things on a deeper level of analysis. Is that extreme sternness or extreme happiness truly coming from you, for you, with no attachment or neediness or desire from anybody else to receive anything in return? Or is the extremeness coming from you're doing that to project an image and to try and gain a response? So there's 2 layers to analyze it. If you're coaching someone and it's not just glaringly obvious that someone's overly smiley because they're being fake, how do you figure it out? You say to them, I noticed that you're smiling a lot. Why is that? And if they turn around and say, well, I want to show the customer that I'm really nice and I want them to feel comfortable and blah 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 blah. Okay, so you're doing it for the customer. Then that's probably not the right reason. If they turn around, and I could guarantee if we asked Ian, if we were there on this call and we said to Ian, hey Ian, why are you so smiley? He would have probably turned around right now and said, I just feel in a good mood.
Yeah, exactly.
In other words, he just genuinely felt in a good mood.
Right.
He's not trying to do it for the prospect. He's just like, I'm going to enjoy my day. And if me enjoying my own day means that I'm smiling,
right,
I don't need anything from the prospect. It makes no fucking difference whether they look shit or they smile back or they don't smile back. So those are the 2 levels of analysis. Yeah. Great question. You're very welcome.
Josh, can I ask you a question to that? Like what you just said? Yeah, 'cause sometimes what happens with me is I try my best to do that and be friendly or whatever the mood's going to be because I want to, but sometimes I find that if I try to start off friendly and then I meet one of those types that's just all business or like, all right, cool, like they're not giving you anything, then I flip it to the opposite where I try to match that energy, but I don't like the fact that I'm kind of stamping myself down because he didn't react the way that I was expecting or I wanted. So part of me is like, well, just read the room, read the person. Like, how can you be all happy and this guy's, deadpan? But I guess the question is, when someone's just giving you nothing, how do you kind of embody that, non-neediness or whatever word you want to use it of, hey, like I'm in a good mood. If this guy's not in a good mood, too bad for him, but I'm going to continue to be that and also kind of calibrate to what you're reading from the other person.
It's such a simple answer, brother, that it's going to seem like it can't be. It's just a choice. If you want to choose to turn up to the call smiling, regardless of the way the prospect reacts, and when they react one way or another, you just continue to be yourself. That's a choice. If you want to show up to the call smiling, thinking I am in a happy mood, but if the prospect turns up this way, I'm now not sure what mood to be in. That's also a choice. It's the choice of, do you want to be the central point of your own life, or do you want to be a leaf in the wind that's blowing around to everybody else? That's part 1. Part 2 is calibration. So the calibration is not because I need something from the prospect or I need the sale, but because I care about the prospect. Should I calibrate a certain way to be slightly smilier or slightly more serious for the prospect's benefit, not because the prospect responded a certain way and made me feel something, made me feel like, oh shit, I should probably be more serious now. It's where does the decision come from first? Is it you deciding I am going to calibrate for the prospect, or is it you being reactive and thinking, oh shit, the prospect made me feel a bit shit because I'm smiling and they're not. Oh, maybe I should tone it down a bit. If you're the commander, if you're the leader, then everything's going to be fine. If you're the one that's subjective to the prospect, then that's not going to be good. Does that make sense?
That does. Yeah. Thank you.
You're very welcome. All right. So the first thing, Jeremy, as far as your question, what's the difference? Look at Ian. His head is not moving very much. His body is not moving very much. He's looking at the same place. And the reason I point that out is because we're going to contrast that to the lady.
Okay.
Ian's still as a rock. He's not fucking.
Hello. This is Ian with Love Strategies. How are you doing today?
I'm doing good, thank you.
Okay,
I have
very
to step
good.
out to my car so that I don't get interrupted.
Yeah, I was.
So first of all, her body movements is she's putting the phone up somewhere. In other words, she didn't pre-prepare and then hit go on the Zoom call. She's kind of doing everything all at once. So first things first, she's not planned ahead. She's reactive to, oh, I've got this call. Fuck, I better turn the call on. Oh, I need to put the phone over there. Oh. So straight away, she's not like Ian, which is 2 minutes before the call, I've already finished my previous call. I'm going to read my pre-call checklist. I'm going to meditate for a few moments. Now I'm going to take my call. Everything is on my schedule. This woman is not like.
I see you're in a car. You're not planning on driving, are you?
Nope.
Second thing, she's not even looking. So what is she doing? So that's number 2.
I'm just out in the parking lot of my shop.
Perfect.
Third thing, she's bobbing backwards and forwards as she's responding.
Yeah.
And so where are you?
Which is the opposite of what Ian's doing. And what Ian's doing is what we could call stillness. You cannot sit still physically if you are not still mentally. If someone's bobbing around, it's because their mind is all over the fucking place. They are uncomfortable sitting in the stillness.
Located?
And Kearney, Nebraska.
Moving again, bobbing to the side.
Awesome. And I know
moving her hands around. I don't know what she's
Fidgeting.
doing. She's like fiddling with her
we
fingers.
do
her
have a
socks up or
limited
something.
amount of time today, so you ready to jump on in?
Yeah.
Okay, so
Scratching her neck.
Yeah.
Yep. I think that's all of them. Did you catch them?
Yep. Thank
All
you.
right.
today is really all about you. So we'll dig into your story and go deep on what you've got going on currently, and also get clarity on what you're looking to accomplish in your love life. Ultimately, to see if we have alignment there with what we actually do here.
Are you reading this, Ian, or have you memorized it?
I've memorized it.
Okay. It sounds a little bit scripted.
Yeah.
So you said, yeah, like you know that.
I had, you know, I've watched this call myself and kind of realized that at this point it did kind of just sound like I was reciting from a script.
Yeah. Do you feel like you've handled that now?
Yeah, I do think so.
Read it to me.
Okay. So this call is really all about you. So we'll dig into your story and go deep on what you've got going on currently.
Pause. So here's a way to make something sound more intentional. You speak quick and then stop, and then quick and then stop, as opposed to the same pace. So what you're kind of doing is, so this call is really about you. We're going to dig into your story, and then we're going to do blank, and then we're going to do blank, and then we're going to do blank, and then blank and blank and blank. It's very much like that. Instead, you want it to be what's called staccato. So you can speak a bit quicker, but then you have a pause. So we are going to go deep into this call. This call is really about you, and we're going to dig into your story, exactly what you've got going on, and then also what you want to accomplish. And then if that is aligned with what we've got going on over here, then we can jump into all those details. Sound good? All right. So it's talk, shut up, talk, shut up, talk, shut up, as opposed to memorize the whole thing and say the whole thing in kind of one slower go. You can talk quicker, but then you pause. So if we actually looked at the total duration of me saying the frame versus you, it should be the same amount of time. But when I'm speaking, it's actually a bit quicker. And then I have the pause, and then I speak a bit quicker, and then I have the pause, as opposed to yours is an average pace the whole way through. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. Makes perfect sense.
Beautiful.
With our love coaching program. If not, I'll just be direct and tell you, But if I do see a clear path on us coaching you to find love, then I'll open up a
So like when you said, if not, I'll be direct and tell you, you then just carried on talking. It should be a pause. And then if not, I'll just be direct and tell you. And then you carry on to the next bit. Okay. That's how people talk. They say something and then they pause because they're thinking about the next thing to say. And then they say it out loud really quickly. And then they pause again. That's how people talk normally. They don't just have one thing that they just keep saying for 2 minutes straight.
for you, walk you through how we make it happen, and get into all the details from there. Sound good?
All right. Sounds
Okay.
good.
And so I took a look at your application.
So at that point, straight away, you should have paused. I see that you're still maybe getting something handled. Like she was looking out the window. So what the fuck is she doing? If that was the first time she'd looked out the window, I wouldn't call it out. But given that for the entire 4 minutes, she's been not 100% present, there is no point going further in the call because she's not in an emotional or spiritual place where she can actually be present.
Got all those details. And so I'm curious, in your opinion, what's the
And so I'm curious, in your opinion, so it's, and so, pause. I'm curious, pause. In your opinion, pause. What is, probably a pause again, the biggest pause, challenge, pause, you're having in your love life, pause, right now? Now I'm emphasizing the pauses a bit too much, but that's how the energy should feel. It's talk, shut up, talk, shut up, talk, shut up, talk, shut up, as opposed to just one whole thing.
Can I try that real
challenge.
quick?
Absolutely, go for it.
Yeah, I think it's like one of those things where I'm noticing like he is pausing, but it's for like a quarter of a second rather than like 3/4 of a second.
And it's the explosiveness when you talk. It should be explode out the words that you're saying and then complete silence. Explode and then complete silence, as opposed to the words just kind of falling out of your mouth. But there's no, it's called dynamics in singing or in speaking. So I say, so in your opinion, pause. What is, pause, the biggest challenge, pause. It's explosive. And it doesn't mean it has to be loud. I could say, so in your opinion, what is the biggest challenge that you are having in your dating life right now? Doesn't have to be loud, doesn't have to be shouted, but I'm very punctual and very intentional when I'm talking. It's not just, oh, I open my mouth and the script comes out and then I shut my mouth. You're projecting the words out into the universe, which also, to do that, you have to really be thinking about what you're saying, because that's what gives you the explosiveness, and that starts communicating to the prospect subconsciously that you're actually attempting to get something from them through your words, as far as communication, as far as a response from them. So try it again, Ian.
And so I'm curious, in your opinion, what's the biggest challenge in your love life right now?
So that was much better. The pauses are a little bit too long,
Okay.
but that's much better. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I think just
you've got it.
over-adjusting. Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
That's it.
In your love life right now.
And so there, just to finish this, it shouldn't be right now. It should be right now. And that's because you're reciting a script as opposed to actually thinking through what you're saying and intonating the actual phrasing.
I guess trying to find a guy that is equal match to me that will stick around. I watched your guys' live feed last night of worthy men. So keeping a worthy man around. I was married for 16 years and my husband passed away 5 years ago. So I have 3 children, teenagers, 2 teenage boys still at home, and a daughter in her 20s. So they're self-sufficient ages for me to go out into the dating scene, but I've never been on like any dating sites or anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Kind of shy when it comes to that. But then I started seeing a guy. Well, I started talking to him in May, finally met up with him November. Everything was going well and progressed probably January. And then he backed away and I was told that I was too intimidating. So I don't know.
Okay.
So notes should have been shy, intimidating, time frame from starting to talk to the guy to actually meeting the guy. The other one was not keeping I don't think she said the right guys, but whatever her phrasing.
Worthy was the word she
Worthy.
used. Worthy man
So,
around.
worthy guys, and then not keeping them around. So those would have been whatever number I just said there, 5 or 6 bullet points. That's what you need to be taking notes on, because those are all interesting things. In what way is she shy? In what way does she mean worthy? In what way does she mean keeping them around? In what way, whatever the other ones are, because I didn't write notes. And this is the point, guys. If I'm not even writing them down, I'm like, fuck, I forgot 2 of them. That's why you have to write them down.
So
Hey, Josh, real quick.
if I'm here,
Yep, go for it.
She did not look at the camera the whole time when answering that.
No, but there's a difference. Great point. There's a difference. Someone looking at the camera and like actually their mind is on whatever's outside the car. This was different. She was looking around, but she was in her head. But she was so scared and so uncomfortable and so insecure about what's actually in her head that her outside body was moving around. But she was in her brain thinking. And you can, if you really tune in, you can see the difference. One was lights are on, but nobody's home. She's looking out the window. She's thinking about the birds and the fucking parking lot and, you know, the people walking into her shop and, oh, fuck, are they customers? What's going on? She wasn't with us. This was, she's answering the question and she's so uncomfortable about answering it that she's now looking around, but you can see that the cogs are turning inside of her brain.
Yeah, that was a really good answer. Really, really helpful, I thought, in the context of what Ian was looking for.
Yeah.
Yeah, Josh, can I ask something real quick?
Go for it.
Because she said a lot here. How do you really determine out of all of these points which one to actually dig deeper in? Because that's what I have trouble with when someone just says a lot. Where do you go from there?
Beautiful question. The only way that you can start is by getting the broad picture. You start by painting with broad strokes before you're going to zoom in. Because otherwise, if you zoom in on something and there's loads of other things going on, you might zoom in on the area that's incorrect. So with everything that she said, the most broad thing that I can ask is what's actually going on in her dating life. Before I say that, I need to summarize everything she said. So I would say, okay, so you're having a tough time getting worthy guys to stick around. You're shy to go on dating apps. You started speaking to this guy, took you 8-9 months, whatever the timeline is, to meet up with him. So that all makes sense. So what exactly has your dating life looked like for the last 30 days? And that's like, I'm taking everything she said, but now I'm just getting a broad picture of, okay, that's useful, but what's actually going on right now? Based on what she says, I may zoom in on the shyness. I may zoom in on the worthy guys. I may zoom in on keeping the guys around. But if someone gives you so much and you're like, fuck, where do I go? Well, the only thing you can do, imagine it like building a jigsaw puzzle. Most people, the first thing you want to do when building a jigsaw puzzle is put the 4 corners there. Okay, there's this corner, this corner, this corner, and this corner. That's as far and wide as the jigsaw goes. That's kind of what you're thinking is broad picture. How big is the jigsaw? And then we start filling it in. And then when we start filling it in, we go, oh shit, this is the pain. I don't even maybe need to fill in the rest of this part of the jigsaw. I can now just focus on this. But if you started with that, you may have found that there was something else in the jigsaw miles away on the top left corner that you didn't even cover. Does that make sense?
It does. Thanks.
Great. Excellent.
You correctly, you were married for 16 years and your husband passed away 5 years ago. So you've got some, children who are in their late teens and early 20s. So you're struggling finding somebody who is a worthy match to actually stick around. You met somebody who you started talking to last May. In November, you guys started seeing each other. And then in June, he backed away because he said,
beautiful summary and well done.
January, excuse
me. And I don't know if anyone spotted it because it was so subtle. Can you hear the difference in her tonality now responding to the very next thing Ian said, and the reason her tonality changed from very passive and yeah, okay, yeah, this happened, blah, 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 to yeah, well, this blah, 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 is because she just felt heard. Her fucking demeanor is polar different now, and all Ian did was listen and summarize it back to her. And then now she's like, fuck me. This guy actually can listen, can understand what I'm saying, can actually care, and immediately she opens up. Immediately. Not complicated, guys. All you had to do was listen and write it down, a few bullet points, and then tell it back to the prospect. We don't need to handle trust objections, guys. You need to actually be someone worthy of trusting because you're actually listening?
Just a couple, yeah, January, he kind of backed away.
Okay. And he said it was because you're intimidating?
But to add on that, she just opened up and then her body language went back to being contracting again. Probably for this woman, opening up is something really difficult. Probably because her husband died, I think, is what she just said.
Can you show that again? Like, what gave you that clue?
So I heard her tonality was much more open, but then I saw her body language was like, oh, it's like one of my guilty pleasures, guys, is I like watching the singing talent shows. I just find it fascinating to watch how these total random people go up on stage and they're like incredible singers. If you've ever watched anything like that, you've probably seen some examples where it's usually a little girl or a young guy or an old guy or some guy that doesn't speak English. They come out onto the stage and the judge is like, who are you? Where are you from? What's your name? And they're like, hello, my name is blah, 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 and I'm from here. And they're like super shy. Then they start singing and they're like a completely different fucking personality. And the moment the song stops, they're like, and they just go back to being super shy again. And it's like, that's what this woman just did. She was super in her shell. Then she heard and saw that Ian listened to her. So she opened up. And then the moment it went back to a moment of silence, she was like, oh, now I feel uncomfortable again. And she just went back to being nervous. Yeah. So you got to be watching these things. And by the way, this is deep. This is spiritual deep. You just watching these things and being aware of them, even if you didn't say anything to the prospect, will actually change the entire interaction. You don't have to necessarily tell the prospect, I hear you, I heard everything, I understand. If you're switched on enough as a person that you're observing, if you study quantum physics, there's a thing called the observing principle, which is if you're not observing the microparticle, it doesn't exist. It's not there. But the moment you start observing it, all of a sudden it's there. If you are the type of person that is observing someone's going from insecure to opening up to insecure to opening up, you might not even need to say anything. It's just going to it's just going to change what's going on inside the conversation, because that's how quantum physics works. You're just observing things as opposed to being blissfully ignorant or unaware, or what we would call unconscious. The moment you become more conscious of things, things just start to transpire for you.
Yeah, so that was scary.
Go for it.
On a tactical level rather than a quantum level, is what you just said about paying attention and observing these things will change the outcome of the call. Do you think part of it is also because you're aware of it, it causes you to calibrate your tonality and your questions to tailor it for them because you're aware of it, as opposed to just not having that social calibration?
Not so much, because it's on a much, much subtler level than changing the words of the question or changing the tonality. It's like, if you look at a spectrum of light, we have visible light. Outside of visible light, there is so many other spectrums of light that aren't visible to us. You're looking at the spectrum of, well, if we took the call transcript from someone that was observing this and someone that was not observing it, would the words be different? Probably not. If we then just took the audio file and we listened to the tonality, would the tonality be different? Probably not. Because on the non-visible level of spectrum, it is energy that changes. You won't actually be able to physically see a difference in the call, but the call will just change because the non-visible wavelengths, which is I'm seeing things that most prospects wouldn't even be fucking present enough to see. That is changing reality. Does that make sense?
Totally. Yeah.
It's so many layers deeper than visible.
So it's intimidating.
Sure. So what specifically do you actually mean by scary and intimidating?
I don't know.
That was probably the weakest one that you could have gone with, because it's the most specific, and we don't need specifics right now. We need big picture.
I kind of talked to a couple of my guy friends, and they confirmed what he said and said that I am an intimidating person.
Josh,
like, I don't know.
How do you mean by big picture? What would you ask instead?
Well, we're asking for one specific example of what we mean by the definition of scary. or sorry, intimidating.
Yep.
Well, she could tell me anything. How much does that push the call forward as far as what is this woman's actual reality of pain in terms of having no dates, having no intimacy, having no affection, having no companionship? I don't know anything about this woman's actual day-to-day life experience yet. We're just trying to zoom in on one very specific example. We zoom in when we need to get the scalpel out as a surgeon and really dig into something. But if the first thing you did when you walked into the doctor's office was said to the doctor, "Oh, I've got an issue with my lungs where I'm bleeding on the inside of my lungs. I've got an internal bleeding." And the doctor said, "Right, lay down on the table. Let me cut that open at exactly that spot and let's fix it." You'd be like, we're not going to do a broad exam yet. Like, stand on the scales, look in your eyes, look in your ears. Like, they wouldn't just go straight for the thing, even if it was glaringly obvious that what you said was true. They have to do a broad assessment first. How's your overall health looking in regards to whatever this lung issue is? Does that make sense? Or like you go into the gym and you're 350 pounds and you say to the personal trainer, "I want to get in better shape." And they say, "Excellent. Let's start with concentration curls." You'd be like, "What the fuck? Like we're going to start with a very specific bicep exercise? How are we starting with such a specific exercise?"
Hey, Josh, it seems like what I've noticed is once we go through this juicy opening question, we recap back their biggest pain point and get them to take ownership of that pain. And then from there, it's like, it seems like the first question after that is to go after like quantifying, like you said, okay, in the last 30 days, how many dates have you gone on? Am I understanding that flow?
Well, yes, but imagine if I asked the juicy opening question and the only thing that this woman said was, "The biggest challenge I'm having in my love life right now is not getting worthy guys." Well, my next question can't be, "How many dates did you go on in the last 30 days? That's going to sound weird. I would have to say, "How do you mean by worthy?" Okay. Well, I'm not getting guys blank, blank, blank. I'd say, okay, so, and then I would say, so if you're not getting those types of guys, what is your dating life looking like right now over the last 30 days? At some point, I need that broad picture, and it's probably at some point very early in the call, but it's not a one rule for every situation. Like, always ask, next question after the opening question, always ask in the last 7 days, how many, whatever we're quantifying.
Right.
Yeah.
So, and I also understand that, like, if they just give you like a short 1-word response or whatever, you might want to ask anything else to try to figure out what is the biggest pain that they're having. Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Can I just ask a question on that, Josh, just to make sure? Go ahead.
One thing before that. Remember, guys, when we've got our piece of paper and we're writing notes, whilst we're writing words and we're writing bullet points and we're writing some numbers down, what we're really doing with this sheet of paper is being able to solve the problem. To be able to solve the problem, we have to take this piece of paper and turn it into what is going on. Now, if the first thing you start writing on your piece of paper is one specific micro example, look at how much of the rest of the paper is empty. I have no fucking idea what's going on. Now, if they do give me one very specific thing and I want to clarify that, I'll clarify it to then plot it on my piece of paper. But then if you imagine that this piece of paper was a map of the person's life, specifically in the area that you're solving, so it could be their fitness life, their dating life, their financial life, whatever. Imagine it like a map. I have to plot the chart. I have to plot the map. We've got this over here, this over here, this over there, that over there. That's this distance from that. That's this distance from that. But if I just get really high resolution about one very specific thing, I have no idea what else is going on in the rest of the map. So you're writing words and you're writing numbers, but the mental model that you need to be thinking is you're creating a map of this is what's going on. If you're a business consultant, you would create a one-pager of, I've done my initial consultation. This is what's going on in the business. We've got this, we've got that. There's this much of this much of that. That's affecting this, that's affecting that. This is affecting their personal life. It's affecting this. You would have a summary visually of what we would call the current status of the business. That's what you're doing. And this is one of the caveats to sales is you're not actually trying to write everything down to show the person how on the map to go from A to Z. They will do the journey themselves once they can see the map. You're not trying to sell someone. You're not trying to make them do the journey. You're not trying to do the journey for them. All you need to do is provide them clarity. And if you provide enough clarity of where they're at on the map, where they could be on the map, why they're there and why they're not there, and all the consequences if they choose to stay here instead of making the journey to there, they will just make the pilgrimage on their own. You just need to get everything clear, showing what's going on and the relationships between everything and the severities of different things, and they'll just come to their own conclusion. Holy shit, I'm an idiot. I'm in this place. I don't want to be in this place anymore. This is costing me a bunch of stuff. How do I sign up? Oh, you sign up here. Okay, cool. No selling necessary. You don't need to sell people. You just need to show them the map. Okay, Lee.
Yeah, just 2 questions to make sure I'm understanding this correctly. So if they give you lots of information from the onset, we want to keep it broader picture and less specifics. But if they give you limited information, we want to be more specific. Is that correct?
Well, it's both, because if they give you something very specific, I haven't got anything else. And if that thing that they gave me is specific but unclear, the next question I'm going to ask is probably to clarify what they just told me. Once they've clarified it, I will plot that on my map as a bullet point of a few words or a number if it's some numbers. And then I will zoom out and get the bigger picture because I still need the big picture.
Understood. Makes total sense. Yeah. And then second question, when we are summarizing from the onset with a prospect like this, am I right in saying that we would only do that potentially with prospects that are more nervous and want to be heard? Whereas if we had other people that were maybe more straight, more direct, we wouldn't necessarily have to summarize to that degree. Is that accurate as well?
Can you say that again?
Yeah, no problem. So with this prospect here, we've summarized straight away after they've answered the first question. Right. And because she's very nervous, making her feel heard, understood, am I right in saying that we wouldn't always summarize right from the onset based upon the prospect that you're actually dealing with? Or is it a depend, or is it always summarized from the onset?
So if by summarize, you mean repeat back to the prospect what they said.
Correct.
Usually I would do that after everything they say to make sure I've got it correct, but it won't sound like a summary if they've only said one thing. If I said, what's the biggest challenge you're having in your marriage, your love life right now? And they say, oh, I'm not attracting worthy guys. I would say, okay, got it. So you're not attracting worthy guys. That's my summary, but they only said one thing. So, but I'm always repeating back to the prospect what they said, because it shows that I'm listening and it allows them to say, no, actually that's not correct, or that is correct, but I want to add something. So I'm always playing ping pong with the prospect. Ask a question, prospect response. Say back to them what they said. Ask them if that's correct, or you don't even have to say, is that correct? You just say it and then you pause and they'll say, yes, that's correct. Got it. Next question. Ask the prospect. Prospect responds. I summarize back to them or repeat back to them what they said. Look for confirmation. Prospect says, yep, that's right. And then I keep going. This is why I don't lose calls, because I don't go any further in the call unless I'm clear that I'm on the line. I'm on the money, that we're going in the right direction. I haven't missed anything. I haven't screwed anything up. Whereas what most closers do is they ask a question, prospect responds, and they just ask the next question. Well, how do you know that you understood what the prospect said? How do you know that they told you, as they say in court, the whole truth and nothing but the truth? You don't know. But if you give them a second opportunity after every response, the accuracy of what's going on in the conversation skyrockets. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes total sense. One last question on that. Would you always clarify and say, is that accurate afterwards, or would you want confirmation from them every time?
So I'm always, after I've summarized, I always want to pause. I don't ask it as a question. So with this woman saying not getting worthy guys, I wouldn't necessarily say, got it. So you're not getting worthy guys. Is that accurate? I probably wouldn't say that. I would just say, got it. So you're not getting worthy guys. And then I just shut up and I pause. And then they come back and they say, yes, that's correct.
Understood. That's very helpful. Thank you.
You're very welcome. George?
My question revolves around maybe this is just your experience, but you know, right away you were like, and you've done dating offers, so you know, that being the caveat, but right away you're like, okay, I get this information, but I don't know the pain. And is it the loneliness, the dating life, the, you know, you have 5 things that you know could be different buckets that she can fall into for this specific offer, but do you have an understanding of like what those pain points are for other offers?
As in, if you asked me a specific offer, do I know roughly the core problems that someone is experiencing for every offer?
Yeah.
If you gave me 2 seconds to think about each of them, yes. Like if you said, right, what would be the issue if someone had this? I would say, well, probably this, this, and this, just by thinking about it for a few seconds.
Okay.
But I would never bring my assumptions or thoughts into the call.
Right. You're saying that yourself, but you're not telegraphing that to her or seeding her conversation. You want the prospect to tell you so that they can realize rather than you boxing them in or whatever, tying them down or whatever. Okay.
Yeah.
In that way.
All right. Last question on this point, guys. I want to get into this call. Nikhil?
Yeah. So when you're talking about the map and, you know, making sure that we and the prospect have full clarity, you're saying, you know, we want to make sure we know where they're at, you know, where they could be. And then you said like 3 things after that. I missed it. Could you repeat it for me?
I don't remember what I said, brother.
Okay.
Does someone remember what I said?
We got it.
If so, just put it in the chat. All right, we're carrying on with this call.
I'm outspoken. I run 4 companies. Well, I just started my 4th company. I don't need them for anything but companionship. I'm busy, but this particular person I felt was like more of an introvert and I'm more outgoing too. And I have like conferences and get-togethers and banquets and things on weekends and stuff that I was taking him to. And I don't know if that was overwhelming or what. I really don't know. I know didn't really give me a very in-depth reasoning.
So what actually ended up happening?
Beautiful question.
He told me on a Monday, came and got his like a couple things that he had at the house on a Wednesday. And
okay, what's the first thing we're noticing about this woman reciting this recent experience?
She's upset, man.
Yeah. And what does that mean?
She's hurt.
And and what does that mean?
She cared about the other person. Maybe she liked them.
Past tense?
Cares.
What does that mean?
Like she's still in pain now, even though the breakup happened sometime. She hasn't gotten over it.
Yeah, she's still invested in this emotionally. So in the order of priorities, for anyone that's heard me say this before, as far as next questions, what is the most important priority if we're ever going to choose a question?
Now or like in the last week or something like that.
No, what category of things do we need to cover? Because with scriptless selling, you know, you can talk about anything, but what is always the number one priority that we need to talk about if it comes up in a call?
An objection.
Correct, an objection. So what is the objection right now?
She's not ready to move past this dude that broke her heart.
Do you know that?
We don't, so we have to ask a question.
Oh, I was thinking
how
that she might not have time to be able to invest into dating.
It's another thing that could have been an objection as well.
Yeah, because she was talking about how she's all busy on the weekends and stuff like that.
Absolutely. 4 companies. So those are 2 potential objections. So it sounds like you're pretty busy with 4 companies going on. I'm curious why, if it is dating something that you want to find time for? Then she has to say, oh, I'm not really sure. Or she said, I'm not really sure if it is. Or she turns around and says, oh, it absolutely is because of blank, blank, blank. And then she has sold herself out of the objection. Okay. The other one is that she seems pretty emotionally invested still in this recent breakup. So somebody give me a way that we could dive into that as far as a question for her.
You still seem like that experience upsets you. I'm just curious, is that something you're still interested in that person?
Perfect. There's so many ways you can say it. It doesn't matter. What matters is that you see what's really going on and you don't use a script and you just ask what the obvious question is. I sense that, you know, this is still something that's tying you up. Are you ready to move on? And then if she says yes or no, I would say, okay, if you could, do you want this guy back? I would stay on that for probably 2 questions to really make sure we've tied that down. Because at the end of the call, when you drop the price, if there's any part of her that thinks she could get back with this guy or wants to get back with this guy, that $9,000 price tag is not digestible. It's only digestible if the prospect has no other options. If they have another option, no worries. At this point, I think given that you're still invested in this guy and you would like him back, I would say the likelihood of you having the commitment to work with us to get out there on other dates would not be at the level required. Now, that doesn't mean we can't work with you in the future, but what it means is, you know, you either get back with this guy if that's something that you can make happen, or you get to a point where you don't even want to go back there if you could, and then you will actually be in a place where if we did work together, you'd be successful. You'd have the opportunity to be successful. Does that make sense? Yes. Unsell, off the phone, done.
I just realized that like I'm looking too deep into stuff, and it's like the obviously like more blatant emotional thing is to talk about this like recent breakup or whatever that, you know, that could be the biggest potential objection emotionally versus like the logical thing of like, does she have time to date with her having all these businesses? I just wanted to share. It was just a realization that it's like, if I had to choose the two, which one's going to be more impactful? And it's going to be the emotional one rather than the like logical one.
100%. But it's still relevant. I would absolutely ask.
Like later
and I'm asking
on in
from
the
a place of curiosity.
Right.
No, I may ask it after the bit about the guy. If she says, no, I'm 100% over it. I still feel emotional about it because I don't have other options. Oh, okay, that makes sense. So the reason that you're, you know, still bothered by this is because you don't know how else to meet other guys. That makes sense. Then I would say another thing that I'm very curious about is you sound like you've got a lot going on, both time-wise and mental-wise. How do you envision dating being a part of your life? Oh, well, I'm super busy time-wise, but I'd like to meet a guy that has a lot of his own stuff going on. And as I mentioned before, I can bring him to some of my business events, the banquets, blah, blah, blah. Beautiful. She's just sold herself that time is not an issue for her. She will figure it out. The prospects have the answers.
I wonder what the guy thinks about that. Like, oh, our date night's going to be at your work banquet. That's interesting.
Yep.
Thought he was done.
Works
So
for me.
he says that it's more of
What's that, George?
Said that would work for me.
a him thing, but I don't know. Besides that, he felt that I was intimidating. Which I don't know if I was a man, I would admit that. Kind of makes him seem like a pussy.
That's so useful for the call.
Oh my God.
So let me ask you, why do you think you're attracting pussy guys?
I was just gonna say that.
Why not? Because that's her issue. I was going to say this 5 minutes ago, but I didn't want any of you guys to see that I already know what the issue was, but I know what the issue is because I've done so many dating calls. The issue with this woman is that she's not attracting guys that can handle a woman that has 4 businesses. The caliber of guys that she's attracting are losers that are intimidated by it. Is that right, Ian? Is that why you're moving around so much?
Oh, I was writing it down and just getting excited because that was a big thing that I missed. Yeah, it's a huge part of her problem. Guys think that she's too masculine and aggressive and selfish. I never
Okay, so
connected the dots that it's because the guys are pussies.
for me. Play the prospect. Okay, so why do you think you're? In fact, I would have said this. So you're attracting guys that are too masculine compared to, you know, the success that you've accomplished in your life. Do you think there are guys out there that would feel differently about being intimidated by you and what you've accomplished?
Yeah, I mean, I think the guys are definitely out there.
Okay, so then my question for you is, why are you attracting the beta males instead of the alphas?
Good question. I mean, I think that after my husband passed away, like I was sort of just forced into this masculine role where I had to care for my children and take over our business and run the family. And it's like, and I don't want to be that way. Like I want to, you know, kind of refine my feminine energy, but like I'm really struggling to actually do that.
What type of guy do you need to attract and be with to make that happen?
Yeah, I mean, I want somebody who's masculine, who really does genuinely care for me, and who is actually, enough of not pussy to the point where he's willing to come to these banquets and accept that I have children and I accept that I have these businesses and, love and support me because of that instead of, kind of treating me like a mom.
How long have you wanted to be in your feminine, but because of the lack of alpha males in your life, you're stuck in your masculine?
I mean, it's probably been since I saw the guy before this about 3 years.
What impact is it having on the other areas of your life to be in a masculine frame as a woman that wants to be feminine for 3 years?
Yeah, I mean, I come to work and I tell these guys what to do all day, and I'm the boss here, and then I go home and I'm the boss, and
And
you
what
know,
is
I,
that doing
I
to you? What is that doing to you to always be in that bossy masculine frame?
it's stressing me out. Like I feel like having that masculine man to carry some of this weight that I feel like is on my shoulders would be a huge relief after all these years.
What weight are you carrying? What do you mean by that?
Well, I mean, I've been running 3 businesses, the operations. I just started handling operations for a 4th business. I've got most of my kids out of the house. I do still have one 13-year-old, but he's self-sufficient. And so now it's like I feel like I don't have to fill that masculine role all the time. And it's like I don't have to completely provide for and care for my entire family. But like I just don't even know how to get back into that feminine energy. Like I feel like it's still in there. I just don't know how to actually do it.
What impact do you think it would have if you had masculine guys around you that created that space for you outside of professional life to be feminine?
Yeah, I mean, I think it'd be a huge relief.
Would it be all of the relief that you need? Would that solve the problem, or would there be anything else?
No, I mean, pretty much everything else in life, I have exactly what I want, and my kids are happy, healthy, and living great lives. And yeah, I mean, I think I get this area of my life figured out.
So you've been in this masculine energy for 3 years because you haven't got the masculine men around you to allow you to step out of your feminine and be into your step out of your masculine and be into your feminine. Given that you've been running that cycle for 3 years, was there a recent moment being in your masculine energy, carrying all of that weight, being stressed about it, where you said, I'm done dating these beta males. I need to get help to date alpha males that can actually allow me to be feminine again? Was there a turning point?
Yeah, I mean, a couple weeks ago, I was having a conversation with my friend Janie, who's in a very similar situation, and she just kind of is almost giving up or like reserved and accepting that we're aggressive women and that just means that we won't be able to find somebody. But like when she said that, I feel like I take accountability for things in my life, and I know it's not something I want to accept for the rest of my life. I don't want to be alone for the rest of my life. And so that's really why I wanted to get on this call about getting some help and actually figuring this out.
Why do you feel that we're the people to figure this out with you and show you how to meet and attract and keep guys around that are worthy and that are masculine? Why do you think we're the people to help you with that?
Yeah, so I mean, I saw your guys's Facebook ad last night, and then I ended up watching the webinar, which was essentially 1 in the morning for me. And there was, a woman asking questions that Adam answered about just not being able to step into that feminine energy and feeling a level of frustration around not being able to do it. I think she was a realtor, and I just really resonated with that and, want help figuring out how to do it.
What did you resonate with? Her level of frustration around that, or what?
Yeah, I think just, it's been hard for me to put these things into words or actually really realize it before I watched your videos yesterday. And yeah, I mean, I resonate with both. I resonate with the frustration and also just the inability of not knowing where to go or what to do or how to actually get into that energy.
how much longer do you want to be frustrated with not knowing where to go, what to do, and how to do it, and continuing to not attract masculine men, continuing to invest the very precious time you have as a successful businesswoman with alpha males, with beta males that continue to mean that you're in your alpha as a, a businesswoman during the day, and then you spend the rest of your day in this masculine energy. Like, how much longer are you willing to not be shown what to do, how to do it, where to go, and continue to basically live in this masculine energy 24/7?
Yeah, I mean, no longer. I'm ready to jump in.
Why?
I just, it's been 5 years. I waited a year after my husband died, had a 2.5 year relationship where I was basically a mom to the guy. He was emotionally and financially immature. And then now I've had this last relationship with this guy I was seeing, and it took me months to actually open up to him and be vulnerable. And then after 4 or 5 months opening up, a month later, he ended things with me.
Okay, so I'm clear on,
yeah, I just don't want, I just, it kind of gave me like a complex of being like, what am I doing wrong? And I just want to change it and get it fixed.
Do you have clarity now on what is going wrong that's causing this?
Yeah.
What is that from our conversation?
Just, not stepping into a feminine role and just not being sure how to do that. And
okay, but what's preventing that happening?
I mean, I would say just the fact that I've just been in that role for so long.
Okay, what's preventing you from getting out of that role?
I just, I know my feminine self and feminine energy is still in there, but I just don't know how to actually express it or like bring it out.
I can give you the answer, but I don't want to, because I don't want this to come from me. But I thought we had come to clarity that the problem I'm going to share with you next is what is the problem. But if that's not the case, we need to talk about that now, because it would be irresponsible of me to enroll you into this program if you think the issue is something different to what I think. So what I thought we had got clarity on was, until you stop attracting beta males and going on dates with guys that need you to be their mother, and guys that are intimidated by your success, and guys that don't want to go to the business banquet with you because they feel like a loser compared to you and all you've accomplished, you will continue being in your masculine energy because they are in their feminine, and therefore there's this polarity. And the solution is, therefore, you need to be shown where, when, how to attract and retain masculine guys that are actually not intimidated by you, but are saying, you know what, Ashley, you could be even more successful. They're actually pushing you to be more successful, because that to them is, wow, I've got this woman on my side that is even more successful. That's attractive to them as opposed to scary because they feel intimidated. But that was what I thought we had concluded was what we need to work on. But now I'm not so sure if we're on the same page. So how do you feel?
No, I mean, that sounds exactly right. I agree.
So what was the reason that when I asked you the question before, you still seemed like you were unsure of what is the one thing that we need to work on that is going to solve all of these problems for you and take this weight off of you and take this stress off of you? What is the reason that you weren't clear on that a minute ago before I just shared it again?
Yeah, I think it's been hard for me to process these things, and like a lot of the words and language that we're using, and even these realizations that I've talked to you about this feminine and masculine energy, I really only came to these conclusions watching your videos for the first time last night. And so I'm having trouble kind of like putting all these things together and connecting the dots and really understanding it, if that makes sense.
Makes total sense. How long do you need to process it before you can take action on the next steps that we need to work on to take it from processing the information to getting the result of you actually dating these masculine men? How long do you need to process that?
Well, I mean, to be honest with you, I just learned about you guys last night, and watched this video at 1 a.m. And I mean, it sounds good. And like, I want to know what you guys actually do. But you know, I haven't really had a chance to even look at any of your reviews or like information on the website. So I'd probably want to do that before moving forward. Taking action.
Absolutely. Sounds fantastic. Let's reschedule. You can take as long as you need to go through all of the reviews to see, you know, the results that we've got for women just like you that were stuck in their feminine, carrying all of this extra weight, hanging around with these guys that don't want to do anything with them because they feel intimidated. Once you've done that, if you are certain that we are the people you want to work with, then we will book in a call and I'll take you through all the details and then we will go ahead and get you enrolled. If you watch some of those testimonials and you have doubts, you have uncertainties, you have two options. You can send me a message and you can send me some questions by text message and I'll either respond to them depending on how long they are or I'll call you. Or you can just text me and say, I've watched the testimonials. You know what? I don't want to work with you, or maybe I don't even want to work on this, you know, being stuck in my masculine energy. That would be the next steps. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely.
Beautiful. Then I get off the phone. By the way, she would never fucking say that at that point in the call. But
yeah, that ended up being her objection, was that she had just heard about us. Yeah, the reason I brought this call is
that would
because
have only been her objection because we didn't get the clarity we needed.
Right.
If someone actually had the clarity that I was seeing if we had, as far as the reason that she's going to continue to be stuck in her feminine is because she's hanging around in her masculine, is because she's hanging around with feminine little bitches. If she actually had that clarity and I'm the first person that's ever given her that clarity, she doesn't need to fucking watch a single testimonial because I'm the testimonial. In other words, I'm the representation of the business you're about to give money to. And I've just given you a light bulb moment like you've never had for the last 3 years. You're going to give me your fucking credit card.
Yep.
But anyway, did that make sense to everybody? Anybody got any questions? I'm just trying to scroll through the chat, but there's a heck of a lot in here.
Makes perfect sense, Josh. Thank you.
You're very welcome.
Josh,
Does anybody have anything they wanted to add on that?
yeah, I have a question about kind of like in the beginning when she did give so much information, like you kept saying, obviously we need to go broader picture first before we narrow in, but I'm a little bit confused on like the timeline because she gave like a 5-year timeline, like she's been single for 5 years, then she started dating someone like a year ago, then it took them 8 months to meet up. And then she's been single again for the past couple of months. Like, I'm a little bit confused on why you said you would focus on the 30 days versus like the kind of 5-year timeline that she laid out.
So great question, Faith. Thanks to Q for clarifying that. I kind of jumped into the role play with Ian as if we'd already covered the stuff from the opening question. I wanted to show the later part of the discovery, which is, how do we get clear on this is the problem and this is the solution? And do we have alignment that if we fix the one thing, which is getting this lady out on dates with more masculine guys, that would solve the problem? At the front part of the discovery, if she'd have given me those 5 or 6 bullet points that we had, we would have needed to clarify all of those. You know, what actually happened with this guy? In what way was he unworthy? How many other unworthy guys has she been on dates with? How much time and effort has she invested in dates with different guys? How many of them have there been? How long does she typically waste in those relationships? The 5-year thing, all of that stuff would have needed to been covered in the data gathering at the front part of the call. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and then like I feel like in my mind I would have been like started at 5 years and worked my way in, but it sounds like you started now and worked your way back. Is there any reasoning for that, or it just depends?
Could you say that again?
Yeah, like in my head, my head went to when she said that, I would have started at like, okay, so you've been single for 5 years. How long did you wait to start dating? Once you did start dating, how many dates have you been on? Why, you know, but you said you would have started with how many dates have you gone on in the last like 7 days or 30 days. And then what you just said, you kind of worked your way back. Like, okay, so then what happened with this guy? And then what happened before? Like any reason or is there a certain way to go about it? Broad to in to out, or it just depends?
Great question. It doesn't really matter so much. What matters is that you've covered everything you needed to cover from beginning to end, and you don't labor, you don't spend too much time on things that are not that relevant. Like if we find that 5 years ago when her husband died, she spent 6 months doing her little inner healing and then she was fine and she got back dating, that's all I need to know. If she said 5 years ago, after my husband died, I fell into some maniacal depression and it was the hardest time of my entire life, well, we're probably going to have to stay on that a little bit more to make sure that's all resolved. So long as you cover everything and there's no missing pieces in the map and you focus on things as much or little as you need to focus, it doesn't matter whether you go left to right or right to left. It doesn't really matter. But great question.
Thank you.
Yep.
Hey, Josh, I have a quick question if I could.
Go for it.
Regarding your discovery that you did with Ian, incredible, by the way, it was really, really good. Let's say, for example, that she did say that, right? You would have handled that exactly the way that you did. You would have not moved on. You would have said, okay, you go ahead and look at the testimonials. You wouldn't have gone further as far as with any future pacing, consequence, any form of that.
No.
Okay.
No, if she wants to look at testimonials after everything I would have just done on that call, plus the bit that Faith added, which is all the front part of the discovery, if she wants to say that, she's being her own worst enemy, and you should not try and save someone more than they're willing to save themselves. You'll just sit there in objection handling for ages. They'll probably refund. No.
Okay.
And what have you got to lose? If she wants to look at testimonials, take as long as you need, then text me.
Yeah. I mean, well, the counter to that is she hasn't even seen a vision of a potential possible future that could be different, right? Like I have a different style of selling, so I'll have them actually like take a piece of paper and pen and have them design the entire next year of their life that's going to be different, like the type of selling I do. And so I'm learning how to switch that, and then I'll like do a consequence portion of what does next year look like if you do nothing, and I'll try and reframe their mindset in that way. Do you think in that situation that would potentially allow them to see the consequence of their decisions if they do nothing and then maybe make a buying decision then? Or is it like, okay, I'm not even going to go there, you're saying?
So I think the conversation we're having is, do we need to do the future or just the present? Sometimes I'll add a few questions in about the future if I think this might be necessary to help her see more consequences and see more comparison. But
Okay.
with this woman's current situation, it
Yeah.
was so bad that I don't need to talk about the future. It's like, do you want to continue living life, carrying the weight of being in a energetic space, which is your masculine, which is not natural for you as a woman and is not
Right.
something you even want to be in? Do you want to
Yeah.
continue being in your masculine every single day, 24 hours a day? That's the consequence. Do you want to continue being in that? There's no, oh, well, do you want to get married? Oh, well, what happens if in 6, 12, 18 months you haven't met a masculine guy and then now you're still not married? It's like, she'll turn around and give you a hypothetical response. Oh, that will be shit, but it's
Right.
18 months away. She's not going to
Yeah.
make a decision now for something that might or might not happen in 18 months.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess my thinking just was that she's only thinking, right? You can only think about your brain creates a reality from your current perspective, right? So she's creating a reality based off her current perspective of dating these beta guys. So she doesn't even know what it could potentially look like for her in her life with running these businesses, being in her feminine energy, having an alpha male in her life. So I would want to see what type of perspective she would have if she like envisions that. That's what was on my mind, but I agree with you. That sounds really good.
Got it. Cool. All right. Jordan?
Yeah. So can you hear me okay?
Yes, brother. Can hear
Okay. So on the offer that I'm on, it's a, immigration offer. A lot of people meet with a lot of different firms to get multiple opinions. I don't know if it's shopping around or not. Would you recommend that if you have a light bulb moment with that person and dig deep enough into the discovery that to have the belief that they'll just close there on the call? Or should I constantly be doing kind of what you did in terms of have they seen the testimonials and built that initial trust factor? Because we have a lot of people coming in that just click one Google search and book a consult from there.
So I'm never going to try and ask them, should they read testimonials or have they seen them? It's only if the prospect brings it up. And my focus on a call is do everything that I can do in the discovery. And then at the end of the discovery, where the prospect wants to take the call is up to them. If they want to take the beautiful discovery that I've just run and say, here's my credit card, let's go, done. If they want to take the discovery and say, actually, I need to look at some testimonials, okay, fine. That's their choice. I'm just focused on how can I run the best discovery possible, because I know the discovery is the thing that determines the quantity of prospects that just enroll there and then. It also determines the prospects being in a place where if they don't enroll there and then, how many of them actually come back also without me needing to chase them. The quality of the discovery is how many of those people you get. Finally, the quality of the discovery is the only thing that I can really control. If someone genuinely is stuck on this mental model of, I need to view 25 videos of total fucking strangers that could have been recorded with AI, and that's how I want to make my decisions, if that's how you want to make your decisions, go for it. I can't change that. All I can do is what I can ask as far as questions in the discovery.
Okay.
So I'm just focused on that.
They're less concerned about testimonials and more like to hear multiple law firms' opinions on their profile and whatnot. So should I take away if I run a good enough discovery and then ask them what's their mental model in terms of deciding from there if they still feel the need to meet with other
Don't
firms?
ask them. No, don't ask them. Run your discovery, do your transition. If everything's aligned there, go into your pitch. After your pitch, what's that?
So don't ask them if they're planning on meeting with other firms or if they're looking at other solutions for figuring it out.
I wouldn't fucking ask that. No way. No.
Okay.
It's their job to tell me if they want to look at other firms. I wouldn't be bringing it up. No way.
Cool. Appreciate it.
You're welcome. All right. We didn't get very far in that call review, but
Thank you,
given how
Josh.
much time, you're very welcome. Given how much time we've been on it, I'm going to move to another call. Who's next?
That would be me. It's in the chat.
Let's go.
First
Remind
time
us
indeed.
what, tell us what you're selling, Lee.
This one is the health offer. This is the health offer weight loss.
Beautiful. All right.
It kicks in right away.
Good, how are you?
I'm doing well. Is the camera working?
Yeah, well, it should be. I'm not sure what I need to do. Give me 1 minute.
There we go. Always good to put a face to the name. How are you today?
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, very well, thank you. How are you?
I'm doing very well. Whereabouts are you calling in from in the world?
Yorkshire, North Yorkshire, a place called Knaresborough. What about you? UAE or something, or?
Yes, correct. I'm based over in Dubai.
Nice, good spot. I guess everything's digital for you, is it? So why not?
Exactly, mate. It is indeed 100%. So, I know
Personally, I wouldn't say mate. I don't like calling my prospects mate.
we're limited on time here today, so you ready to jump straight in?
I don't like saying we're limited on time because that makes it sound like you're pushing him to have to be quicker. I know that we've got a limited amount of time. In other words, the schedule is we've booked in an hour, as opposed to I know we're limited on time. It's so subtle, but the way you phrase that just made it feel like you're telling him to hurry up, as opposed to we have a limited amount of time. It's almost like I'm focusing on the time allotted rather than my time as the closer. It's my calendar's my calendar. It's not my fault kind of thing, as opposed to I've got a limited amount of time. Slightly different. Okay.
Yeah, cool.
Awesome, Simpson. So definitely excited to dig into your story and go
I love your energy. It's
deep
great.
on what you've got going on inside the health and fitness journey right now. And also for us to get clarity on what it is.
Same thing with Ian. I would be pausing after each of those little bits just to get him to feel like you're talking with him rather than giving him a speech.
Is that you're looking to accomplish. And then if we feel like we've got alignment there with what we've got going on over here at Built to Last, then we can essentially jump into all those details if that sounds good.
Okay, yeah, fine.
Very well delivered, though. Very, very well.
Awesome. So really curious, in your opinion, Simpson, what would you say is the biggest challenge in the...
Slow that down a lot more, although oh, fuck, that's normal speed. Shit, yeah, that needs to be way slower, way slower. So after your framing, there's a really big shift in energy when you do the opening question. So framing a little bit quicker, a little bit lighter, a little bit more moving through it. Then it's almost like this pause. It's like, so in your opinion, Simpson, what would you say is the biggest challenge that you're having in your health and fitness right now? It's like, we're now getting serious. Imagine the doctor analogy. You walk in, the doctor says, Lee, it's been a long time. How you doing? Oh, great. How's the family? How's the kids? Oh yeah, brilliant. You're having this kind of chat. And then he says, right, so why are you here? Like, is everything okay? Like the energy just changes. It's like, okay, we've said hello. Well, now I remember you've come to the doctor's office. Like there's an issue here. So let's get a bit more serious. Is that clear?
Yeah, that makes total sense. That's definitely a leak of mine. I sometimes tend to speak a little bit too fast.
Well, the frame was fine. The framing was good. But the framing compared to the opening question does need to be much more intentional, slower, more somber. We're getting into it. Things are serious now.
All those details, if that sounds good.
Okay. Yeah. Fine.
Awesome. So, really curious, in your opinion, Simpson, what would you say is the biggest challenge in the health and fitness part of your life right now?
That's a good question. Discipline, just sticking with it. So I'm doing Peloton in the mornings, but I have a 50th birthday coming up in 6 months, so 4th of September. And now it feels like a really good time to get into a bit more shape for it, to be frank, as a goal. I snapped my patella tendon in my knee about 3 years ago, and that took me back massively. So it's been a complete rebuild where they've had the surgeons had to reconnect my patella to my kneecap and drill through my kneecap, and then my legs also a little bit out of shape. So you'll see a big scar on my right knee. I pinged a photo through, but it's like so that took me back a bit. So I've generally been in reasonable condition, never a fitness freak, but I've always been in sort of pretty decent condition. But I've piled on a little bit of weight, and I want to be in better shape. So yeah, that's probably the main goal is kind of around a little bit, do my best for the birthday, held back a bit by leg. I managed to get my first week skiing in 3 years, just 2 weeks ago in France, which was great, but it was different because I couldn't last all day.
So broad picture, the two most important things that I want a broad picture on. Why is this actually important to him now that he's turning 50? And what is he actually doing in regards to how much discipline is he displaying? Like how much exercise is he doing? How many hours, diet, sleep, everything. So why is this actually important and what's actually going on? Broad strokes to begin with.
I was pretty much done.
So I would probably start, unless he says something more juicy in a minute, with, okay, got it. Summarize everything he said. So in the last 7 days, how many days did you do Peloton? 7. Okay. And how much time did you do Peloton for? 30 minutes. Okay, got it. So that's Peloton. What else did you do in the last 7 days as far as exercise? Oh, I went to the gym 1 time. 1? Yeah, 1. Okay. What type of gym? CrossFit, bodybuilding? Oh, I did CrossFit. Okay. How much time did you do CrossFit? 1 hour. Okay. On a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being I absolutely went balls to the wall. 0 being I turned up, I did the routine, but I wasn't really pushing anything. How much intensity did you put in? Okay, got it. So in the last 7 days, you've done 30 minutes of cycling at a very modest pace. You've done 1 CrossFit workout that really wasn't a workout. Anything else? Nothing. Okay, got it. So now I'm not taking his word discipline. I'm converting the word into stats. What actually happened over the last 7 days? Probably compare that to 2 weeks, 30 days, and then now we're getting data. Then I would also need to know this stuff about, he had this injury, struggled to get more disciplined, got this 50th birthday coming up. What's the relevance of that?
By lunchtime, which is really pretty poor. So yeah.
It makes total sense. I appreciate you filling me in on all of that. You said that the weight has piled on. Was that due to the
good point
injury, or was it something else?
Well, it's probably due to the eating, but the injury, the injury didn't help. It was actually not bad for about a year after the injury, but I'm not putting in the miles I would have put in terms of dog walking and cycling and things. So yeah, I think I've got a bit bloated, but personally, I think my nutrition is probably a real problem now because age has caught up with me a little bit.
Very great ownership.
Because before I could probably eat pretty much what I wanted and just train hard. But I think like a bit of good food and wine. So I need to be much more nutrition focused, I think, which is really.
So he said train hard. So I'd want to quantify that. So before the injury, scale of 1 to 10, how hard could you and were you training? Oh, 10 out of 10, Lee. Okay, great. Now with the injury and what you can sustain as far as not damaging the injury or the you know, the changes since the industry, how intensely can you exercise if you actually had someone holding you accountable to be disciplined, blah, blah, blah. Let's just imagine he says 5 out of 10. Why is that important? Well, now I've quantified the difference in the exercise, which means I now know what the difference needs to be in the nutrition level of expertise. In other words, he can't just match the 50% reduction in exercise intensity by eating the same foods. Now I've quantified it back to him. I could say something like, okay, got it. So as far as the nutrition side of things, we need to discipline and manage and design your nutrition in a way that matches the 50% reduction in intensity that you're exercising. He's now like, holy shit, I've never quantified it like that. That makes a lot of sense. He said he likes wine. He said he likes his food. He's now thinking there's no fucking way without some outside help and a nutrition plan and a coach and someone to check in with that I'm going to manage to counterbalance the 50% reduction in my intensity on my own. He's now quantified that in his head because we helped him quantify it. Does that make sense, Lee?
Yeah, makes total sense.
Driven a little bit around age and condition. It's all right when you're 25, you can do what you want, but not when you're late 40s, yeah.
Yeah, no, makes total sense. When would you say you noticed that the weight was starting to pile on, like ballpark figure?
It's been slowly piling on, but definitely past couple of years, easily.
Okay, got it. So 2 years ago, what was your weight? Okay, and what is it today?
Past 2 years. You mean like recently or what? Or
yeah,
I sort of fluctuate. It fluctuates for me. I would say in the last 2 months I've got a bit bloated, but you know, I fluctuate somewhere.
He's also rationalizing with the word bloated. But bloated is not fat. Bloated is I ate some fucking baked beans. Is it bloated or are you fat? Like, you can't let people rationalize.
Between 14 and a half and 15 and a quarter stone.
How do you mean by bloated? Just ask him, how do you mean by bloated? Like, he needs to turn around and say to you, well, I mean, I've got fat. Any minimizing language or rationalizing takes their feet away from the fire.
For somebody who's 5'11" to 6 foot, it's probably a little bit over. But I've always been a rugby background, so you need to carry a little bit of mass. But you know,
so the last 2 years, or
mass, as in you were a prop forward, and so you were fat, but you call it mass. Like, again, rational.
It's been longer that the weight has kind of been fluctuating.
Yeah, maybe a bit. Last 2 years particularly, because I've probably broke through the 15 stone mark, but I would say I've always been.
Josh,
again,
good question.
Sorry, one sec. 15 stone mark. It sounds like that's a significant milestone to him. So clarify that. Okay, you mentioned breaking the 15 stone mark. How do you mean by that? Well, you know, 15 stone, I've never been that weight in my life. And for someone my height, that's really, you know, obese or whatever he says. But he didn't say I've added on 50 pounds or 25 kilos or whatever. He specifically said I broke the 15 stone mark, as if that's some like turning point moment for him. So we need to get him to tell us why that's so significant. Christian.
When you say that he's rationalizing these things, would you just like clarify it and make sure that he's actually calling it the right thing, which is fat?
Yeah. Okay, and so if you're bloated, how long do you typically hold that bloating for? You know,
I don't know.
like, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Heavy bone.
14 and a half for a long time. University weight would have been like 12 and a half, which is always a good data point for me.
Understood. What changed 2 years ago for the weight to pile on more and go to like 15 stone?
Probably a little bit more working away. So, you know, I'm not job wise. I was in London a lot more and staying in London. So I was probably eating, my diet was probably a bit poor. You know, I've been using David Lloyd Gym for like a decade. I've been, I had no Peloton because my Peloton was at home. So I'd say I was away a lot, which probably.
Was there no stationary bicycles at the gym? Like, do not let people rationalize. Oh, I didn't have my Peloton. You're in fucking London. Just go to any gym with a stationary bicycle. Don't let people rationalize.
Hotels and stuff, and then an apartment in London, and it was just a little bit per discipline. When you're cooking on your own,
okay, he's kind of leading to the truth, which is discipline. Okay, so you know, you mentioned discipline, you mentioned not having your Peloton. Could you have gone to a gym and gone on a stationary bike? Yes. Why didn't you do that? Well, as I mentioned, it's my fault. It was discipline. Okay, we've clarified now. It's not the lack of the Peloton, it's the discipline. When someone is splitting responsibility, view it literally as that. Instead of 100% ownership on the truth, they've put 50% ownership on the truth and 50% on a rationalization. Every time you remove, you lower the authentic ownership, you lower the commitment, because the commitment comes by, this is 100% my fault, which also means it's 100% in my power to do something about it, as opposed to, oh, it's 50% my fault, but 50% because I didn't have my little fancy Peloton bike and my fucking Lycra shorts.
Stuff is kind of like, it's not the same as cooking for a few other people or something.
Makes total sense. So the work commitments, the travel, being in London.
Yeah.
No. It's not the work commitments. It's not the travel. Got it. So you have not been as disciplined recently, because now you're feeding into, yes, Lee, it's the travel, it's the this, it's that. No. Got it. So you haven't been disciplined for the last 2 years, and you've rationalized that as there was no Peloton, and choosing to eat a less regimented diet. And as a result of your lack of discipline, finding the time, making the time to do exercise, regardless of where you are in the world, regardless of your work commitments, and choosing to not be disciplined with your diet, as a result of that, your weight has continued to go up and down, and now you've broken the 15 stone mark. Is that correct? Yes. Put it on the prospect.
Sort of change resulted in the weight piling on and increasing. Okay, so you said you're about 14.5 to 15 and a quarter stone. What weight would you want to be at, Simpson?
Good question, but I think 14 would be all right. I mean, 13.99 would be fine. But 14 would be good, because that's probably at least a stone. Perfectly achievable. I mean, in some ways, I'm sure I could probably just Peloton hard and eat less and achieve it myself. Really, but
why not just do that? Like, that has to be your next question. Why not just do that? If you actually believe that, we don't need to be on this call.
Thing popped up on Instagram and thought, I'll have a look.
Bullshit. Fucking bullshit. Oh, it popped up on Instagram and I thought I could just do it myself. Yes, Christian.
Dude, so I mean, I've been training with you for a long time now, and as you told us, like, if we let him off that piece, like, aren't they just gonna bullshit us for the rest of the call?
That's why he's bullshitting. Yep, literally doing that.
So now, I mean, where do we go from here with this call? Because I mean, we can keep reviewing, but you got what I'm saying.
I'll go a couple more minutes until Lee has seen that he continues to let the guy off the hook, and then yes, it's like we don't need to go more than 10 minutes in to know what happens for the rest of the call. The prospect doesn't believe that it's 100% his fault, because whilst he's given us a few openings of, oh, it's 50% this, it's 50% that, we've then just gone and said, okay, fine, no worries, as opposed to, well, which one is it? Is it the Peloton or is it the discipline? So yeah, but like I've done with you, Christian, we've probably had 3, 4, 5 call reviews where each time we do a call review of one of your calls and it's the same mistake or a mistake that you're now aware of, I don't have to hammer the point home as much with you. Bear in mind, for Lee, it's his first ever call review. If I just show him the first time he let the prospect off the hook and say, well, you let the prospect off the hook, that's going to be the rest of the call, it's probably not nailed it into the coffin enough for Lee to not do it again. Does that make sense? So just bear in mind, Lee's brand new, first call review. You've been with me for, I think, a year. So we have to remember the differences in people's level of awareness of what's going on. Make sense?
That's totally, I mean, I didn't mean it in that way. I meant it like, because I've done this shit in calls where I'm like, okay, they tell me something and I'm like, man, okay, let me just understand a little bit more data. Let me gather a little bit fucking more, as opposed to be like, dude, like, the fuck, it's your fault. You haven't been committed. You haven't made disciplined. Let's get that shit clear before we even move on. But I'm falling into the trap into like, let's just get more data just to fill up the fucking time.
So my extra piece of data going back earlier on in the call when he said I was in London would have been, was there any gyms?
Okay.
That's the data. Oh yeah, there's a fucking load of them. So why didn't you go? Oh, because I'm not disciplined. Okay, so to be clear, Simpson, is it your discipline or is it logistics?
There's no discipline.
Okay, It's my discipline. Okay, excellent. How long have you not had the discipline that you need that's causing you to put on this weight? 2 years. So why, after 2 years of not having discipline, have you now gotten to the point where you know you need outside help to maintain the discipline you need? Otherwise, you'll just continue piling on the weight. Now, my line of questioning is taking him away from this bullshit, which is, oh, I just saw an advert, but I could probably do it on my own. Yeah?
Because it probably, you need a bit more stimulus, you need a little bit more insights, particularly around nutrition.
A little bit?
That's where I've been very ignorant.
Ignorant? Okay. In what way? Have you gotten to the point where you're no longer willing to be ignorant? Yes. Why? Why us? Okay. Why now?
Makes total sense. You said there that it would be perfectly achievable to drop a stone. That's like, it's not an extensive amount of weight, like 1 stone. So what I'm trying to understand here is, if this has been going on for the past 2 years, in your opinion, why do you?
Beautiful, but you need, because he's lying, and because you've got a lot of rapport here, and I'm saying that because there's a good vibe between you and him. You can be more direct. It's like, so you could phrase it like, so if it's so easy, why have you failed at it? Like, just be way more direct with him, because then he's like, oh fuck, I can't get away with bullshit here.
Could you say to him, Josh, do you mind if I be direct with you? And then no?
Not with this much, because when you need to say to someone, can I be direct with you, or can I be honest with you? It's like they're in pain and we're going to need to smack them into even more pain. And we're being sensitive to, hey, I'm just giving you a heads up that I'm about to smack you a real one. Is that okay? This guy's not in pain. So we don't need to preface what we're saying with trying to be compassionate to the prospect. He's not in pain.
Okay.
So we actually need to be less compassionate to get him into pain. And then once we're in pain, or he's in pain, then if need be, we can be, listen, can I just be honest with you? Yes. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense. Thank you.
Feel like
you
haven't been able to lose that stone yet?
Great question, but
so he's like, shit, but not as direct as it could have been. He's fucking chewing on his own mouth.
Clearly the juice hasn't been worth the squeeze in the.
How worth it is it now? Okay. Again, he's rationalizing, by the way. The juice wasn't worth the squeeze. Okay. Where is the juice's worth now? Oh, it's definitely up there. Okay. So is that the only thing that you see as the issue? Yes. Well, it sounds like you've got the juice now. So why don't you go and squeeze it on your own? Right. He's still rationalizing. He's still lying.
I haven't wanted to enough because, so motivation, probably simply put, motivation. And then I'll have I've done Peloton this morning, but I've also had a cracking breakfast of avocado with bacon and a couple of fried eggs. So that's probably my downfall. I'll work hard so I can.
Nothing wrong with bacon, fried eggs, and avocado, bruv.
Good bottle of wine, or I'll work hard so I can have a good fried breakfast on a Saturday. But I work in operations, so I'll eat pretty shit canteen food at lunchtime each day, but I'll eat a very healthy evening dinner and a really healthy breakfast. So there's a little bit of choice of food, but simply put, motivation.
Okay, so motivation, and as you said there, you haven't wanted it enough. So what I'm curious about is, did something change recently to go?
Beautiful. I personally would have quantified it first and then asked what was the experience, but this is fine. I would have said, so where is your motivation now on a scale of 1 to 10? 10 being this has to happen right now, 0 being I can keep putting it off. Then when he gives us a number, you say, why did you pick that number? And then you say, what was the moment that shifted the motivation from not enough juice to worth the squeeze to an 8 out of 10 or whatever? Then you need to tie it down and say, let's just say he said 8. So given that for 3 years, the juice hasn't been worth the squeeze, and you haven't been motivated, and you haven't been disciplined, and you've continued to rationalize and make excuses that London doesn't have any gyms, do you believe that an 8 out of 10 is enough worthiness of the juice to squeeze it, given that it's been 3 years that it hasn't been? Do you think 8 out of 10 is enough? And he needs to tell you, yes, 8 out of 10 is enough. If he says 9 out of 10 or 10, you probably don't need to do that because it's a 9 or a 10. But if he says like a 7 or an 8, it's like, well, it's still not that high. So you need to get him to tell you it's enough.
From not wanting it enough to now wanting it enough, the fact that you're on this call?
Good question.
Yeah, yeah. In some ways, I suppose. Really, I think it's.
No, look at the way he's actually. His body language is responding to the question, and then he's rationalizing the words. Oh, kind of, sort of, maybe a little bit. No,
Can
his
you
body
replay that a
language
little bit?
was. Yeah, his body language was. There's definitely a fucking reason. His wife doesn't want to bang him anymore. Is probably the reason.
Yo.
Yeah. In some ways, I suppose.
Look how uncomfortable he is at the fucking question, but he's trying to mask it by laughing.
Not wanting it enough to now wanting it enough. The fact that you're on this call.
Yeah. Yeah, in some ways, I suppose. Really, I think it's triggered a little bit by birthday and shape and age.
It doesn't make any fucking difference his birthday shape. What matters is his wife's not attracted to him anymore, or whatever the fucking reason is. But the birthday shape doesn't actually mean anything.
Yes, probably a few things. My old man's probably.
Yeah, this is we're on something now.
Not far away from passing away.
He can't even look at you. It took 3 seconds there to look at the floor.
But it's something we've been dealing with for a while, so I think that wakes you up a little bit. He's in a
What woke you up?
Nursing home. So
does your wife wake you up in the morning with a blowjob anymore? No. Oh, shame.
There's a little bit of just reality of life. It's probably put a few more bricks in the Bergen and weighed.
How many bricks are in the Bergen now? How much longer do you want to carry that Bergen?
Down to say.
Use people's language against them, because their language is what they're actually feeling, and we explain our feelings through pictures. Bricks in a Bergen. That's a very descriptive. So I would be writing bricks in a Bergen, or I'd probably just write the word bricks. How many bricks are you carrying? How does it feel to carry those bricks? How long have you carried those bricks? How much longer do you want to carry those bricks? Use people's words.
Actually, yeah, I'd like to do something about it.
First time he actually sounded like he actually meant what he was saying.
Understood. So with the 50th birthday approaching in 4 or so months' time in September, combined with the fact that you said your dad, the old man, is aging, and it's something that you've been dealing with for a while, is that something that you're worrying about in terms of your overall health?
Just ask it as a question. So what is it that's worrying you about that means you now need to do something about it? Open-ended question. But you're going in the right direction. It's just sometimes when we're like, I know what I need to get to, but I don't know how to get there with a question. So I'm just kind of going to tell the prospect, it's better than going in the wrong direction. But to get more advanced, we have to learn to just ask it as a free, open question. But you're going in the right direction.
Josh, sorry.
Yes, go for it.
Yeah, so quick question there. Like what I'm hearing from you is that he says this thing about the birthday, but what you're sharing from your perspective is that's kind of like a smokescreen. It's surface level. It's not deep enough. It's something about his wife, or maybe like, so how would you necessarily take it there to, or like his friends made fun of him because he put on all this weight. He's going to be celebrating his birthday with his friends and he wants to be fit.
Nail on the head. Nail on the head.
Like, yeah. So like, I guess, how do we get to that depth?
Just keep asking. Okay, so you got your birthday coming up and you don't want to be fat. Why?
Mm-hmm.
It's so much simpler than we make it.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, why? What's actually the difference between 49 and 50? Nothing. It's just this year, his friends are going to be there, or whatever. Yeah.
Would you just ask it directly like that? At that point,
I wouldn't say about being fat, but I would say, okay, so you got your 50th birthday coming up in 6 months, and you do not want to turn up in the shape that you're in now. Why not?
Well, overweight, maybe just like be more direct.
I would just say you don't want to turn up as at 15. You don't. Okay. So you're carrying all these bricks in your Bergen, and in 6 months, you're going to carry those bricks on your stomach into your birthday event, having broken the 15 stone mark. Why is that not something that you're willing to accept? I would take all of his language and throw it into my question.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, I wouldn't say it's particularly on my mind, but I've had some good advice over the years from different people in business and stuff. And there was one bit that resonated with me that, what you
did. Any of them teach you the advice of being disciplined? Oh, what a surprise.
Do and eat today is what you'll be living in 10 years. And I thought, I think that's great advice. So, I'm probably not doing too bad for my age versus some folk that apparently are
rationalizing at
that stage. But I'm a bit weak on my right leg. I do not want to be taking it careful downstairs at 60 years old. I want to be bouncing.
Bullshit. Guys aren't at home going, oh, I feel so bad about myself because I can't bounce down the stairs at home.
Hey, Josh, question.
Like David said, and then Lee confirmed, something personal that bothers men. turning up to his birthday party and all of his chums are, you know, in great shape, and they're like, fucking hell, what happened to you, bruv? Like, that's embarrassing for him. Him being in the privacy of his own home going, well, I've got a bad leg and I don't want to injure myself going down the stairs. Guys don't care about that. Jeremy.
No, I'm going to reserve my question.
Done.
Thanks.
So this is kind of about putting a platform in that's going to, you know, last me 10 years and probably reset my regimes by speaking to a few professional experts. You know, there's always.
Okay, Jeremy.
Yeah, no, what I was, it's the thing like Nicole and I were kind of chatting about is the judgment, right? And I'm trying to like process how I'm judging people, how I'm judging myself, how I'm judging this guy, or hearing how you're talking about this guy. It sounds.
Well, I'm talking about this guy on this call to emphasize and entertain the point. I wouldn't be talking to this guy like the way I'm talking about it to you.
Right.
If these calls become too boring and too clinical, you aren't going to sit here for 5 hours with me offering you training. So I'm entertaining more to just get you guys to be like, oh, that makes sense. It's funny. I remember it. I'm going to take it on board. It's like Tony Robbins, you know, why does he get everybody fucking doing this and clapping? It's like, does that actually do anything for you? Kind of, it changes your state, but more importantly, it's an experience. It's something you remember.
Yeah. And pattern interrupt and stuff. But, and I'm just thinking in my mind, like, yeah, it's like you were, I guess you just said it here, and that's why I'm reserving my question. So
good.
Local people can see. I've had a personal trainer before, and I've done very, very well by a personal trainer, and you know, 6-7 years ago, in great shape. This, don't know, just felt it was a bit more digital and a bit more current, and
he's not telling you anything useful.
And I think I've got the determination to do it through the year. So
makes total sense. So biggest challenge right now is essentially sticking with it. You've got the 50th birthday approaching in September. As a result of that, you feel like it's a good time now to get some help with that. Piled on the weight over the last 2 years, want to be in better shape. And a big reason for the weight piling on was due to work, being over in London. Obviously,
You see how the summary is so inaccurate. It's like, oh, the biggest reason was you're in London. No. The biggest reason is you weren't disciplined. You were rationalizing. You were making excuses. I still don't know the real reason why this is important now. You're carrying a bunch of bricks in your Bergen. How many bricks are you carrying? How much longer do you want to carry the bricks? Right? Like we're summarizing very surface level stuff.
Assume you're not over there anymore. So
no, closer in Yorkshire.
Right? Like assuming you're not in London anymore. That was never an issue anyway. The real issue was the ownership that he wasn't disciplined.
So you haven't wanted it enough, but now you do want it enough because of the birthday approaching. And obviously,
why does that matter?
You've mentioned your dad there and wanting to, I suppose, set yourself up in a way that when you are in your 60s, that you're still able to essentially do the things that you're able to do right now. Is that kind of accurate?
Yeah, that's fair. Yep.
He'll say, yeah, that's fair, because he's like, great. He's going to pitch me and tell the price based on me not having to open up. Beautiful. I managed to worm my way through the call with Lee without having to actually put my balls on the line. He's loving this. He's like, fantastic. I don't have to even tell you anything truthful, like truthful, but not the real truth. And I can just worm my way through it.
Yep.
So if someone responds with, yep, you know you haven't gone deep enough, because when you give them the summary, they should be like, holy how did this person get all of that from 20 minutes, get me to tell them all of that? That is the most clarity I've had in my entire life. I feel like dog shit. They should not be responding from your summary going, yep. They should be like, I'm going to be sold and I can't say no matter the price tag, because this person has just ripped me a new fucking asshole.
This is the problem.
This
is the problem I feel like I'm having on my calls, because I feel like people are just getting on the call just to price shop, and I'm having a hard time, getting deeper and into the pain on the questions. And this makes sense because this is exactly like, and I put it in the chat about like price shopping. So they're opening up a little bit and telling me some truth, but they're not really being full truth.
What I'm wondering is, why not just continue doing what you're currently doing if you feel that you have the motivation now?
There you go. Except we should have asked that when it came up. 3 minutes ago, as opposed to keeping it in our back pocket?
Because you do want it bad enough. That's what I'm trying to understand. Why not just do the Peloton and the nutrition side of things? Or do you feel like that wouldn't actually get you to where you want to go?
Don't lead the question. That kind of just voided the whole point of the question, because you telegraphed why you were asking it. And the real reason you're asking the question is because I don't need the sale. That's why you should be asking that question, because you're like, you take it or leave it, but this question needs to be asked. Otherwise, I don't have anything to sell you, as opposed to adding on the telegraphing, which is, I'm hoping that you tell me the answer that I want you to tell me. So I'm going to kind of lead the question there a little bit.
Fair, but
still powerful though, which is amazing how the right question, even botched a little bit, is so much more powerful than the wrong pussy level service question with perfect tonality or at the right time in your script. It's like, no. The powerful question is always the powerful question. There is better ways to phrase it, but the question came from the right place, which is, I don't need to try and sell you. I need to make sure that you are someone that is ready to buy this and ready to commit to this. And I am skeptical. People that come from a place of skepticism as far as the closers have a lot of negotiating power, because it's like, I can take it or leave it. And so the question still landed.
I think the nutrition side of things I'm pretty ignorant on. So I see this as insights that I don't currently have. I don't really want to buy a magazine and read it. I could get a nutrition coach or something. That's fair. So I've seen this as an all-round package. That
his whole vibe and tonality has changed right now, because he's actually being honest.
Gives me a fact,
as opposed to laughing and joking and smiling about it.
Solution, and probably
this is him like, yeah, shit, I actually have to do something about this.
So a program where there's a bit more discipline. I just tend to find you show up for programs. So, I'm a little bit more.
So what you're saying is that unless you have someone telling you what to do, when to do it, how to do it, and tracking what you do, you are telling me that you do not have, at this time in your life and for the last 3 years, the discipline to actually do this. Is that what you're saying? Is that what you're trying to be honest and tell me? Yes. Okay, got it. Now we've got him on record actually saying what he's kind of trying to say.
Right in the country at the minute where I am, whereas if I've been in a city, you can do high rocks or whatever. You can get into some kind of beasting program, although they only carry you along. So I'd seen.
But you didn't, right? You see how he's still trying to lie. Oh, well, if I was in London, I could do high rocks. Well, you were in London before and you didn't.
I'm fed up with this guy, man. Like he's like full of shit. Like he's still fucking fat. He has like you said, he's like if he had me on the phone, I would just be asking, why the fuck are you laughing? Like I wouldn't say it like that, but it's just like the energy is just like he's so passive. Like I'm getting fucking annoyed. Like why don't we just call that out?
When Lee gave the summary, like as he paused and then he continued it, when he said, yep, like the first time, the way he said it was like embarrassed that it's like he's like, I just got away with that, but he like wasn't proud of it. I don't know if you picked up on that.
Very deep and very well spotted and 100% accurate, Pete. It's like I've said, let me change the context. If you get someone to enroll in a program that is for their benefit, and they know it's for their benefit, but you got them to enroll by backing them into a corner with word tracks or tie downs that are very memorized, they enroll into the program, and a part of them is happy to enroll in the program and start the journey to fix it. But another part of them is like, I didn't even step up to the plate and take my own commitment and my own ownership to the next level. I kind of got the closer to do that for me. And there's this part of them that feels shameful about that. It's like, I guess it was me that should have chosen, through the help of the closer, to make a bigger commitment as opposed to getting backed into a corner. So yeah, and I've said this before, I'm going to do a YouTube video on this, that the spiritual side of sales is when you realize this stuff is not linear, meaning let's just say that Lee let this guy off the hook with the summary and Simpson was able to get away with it. And on this call, Simpson actually closed. Let's just imagine that. But the karmic energy that Lee is putting out into the universe is, I'm not going to believe that people can level up and step up and upgrade their own level of personal responsibility. I don't believe that about people, so I'm going to have to try and force them over the line. what then happens? The other calls that you have on your calendar don't show up, turn up as worse prospects. Some shit happens with your marketing and the marketing in your offer tanks. And what you don't realize is the spiritual side of sales is these moments on a specific scale happen on a much bigger scale that is universal. You have to show up as the human being as a closer that believes that prospects can be honest with themselves, 100% honest with themselves, commit for themselves, to themselves, by themselves, without you needing to back them into a corner. When you start being that type of person, which is defined in one word, a leader, an actual leader in life, everything around you starts happening for your benefit. You get offered to join a new offer. Your boss turns around to you and says, hey, Christian, you know what? You want to sell this for a bigger price? Sell the same shit for twice the price. And you're like, wow, I just got to make twice the commission on the same call. Your leads all turn up to the calls. They all turn up and they open up to you. Your marketing doesn't crash for the next 6 months. All sorts of shit just starts happening for you because you have chosen to step into the energetic and spiritual position of being a leader rather than just being a closer. Make sense? All right, questions. Harrison?
Yeah, just two real like clarifiers, because one with like the data on here, because in the 11 minutes, we've just gone through like 15 different examples of him rationalizing and like 15 different paths that we could have gone down to call him out on it. But I guess just to clarify, if we just nipped it right at the beginning, then it feels like none of those would have happened in the first place, right?
Normally, no. But bear in mind, you are dealing with someone's habitual behavior of rationalizing, meaning they may rationalize and you call them out on it. And they may do it again, and then you call them out on it. And then they may do it a third time on a call and you call them out on it. But what matters is that every time they do it, you do not let them off the hook. And at a certain point, if they keep choosing to exhibit the same behavior that has caused them to be where they're at now, you have to bring them to that level of awareness. Hey, Simpson, what I'm noticing is that despite us keep getting clarity on your rationalizations, you continue to revert back to rationalizing. I'm wondering, how do you plan on ever solving this problem, which is caused by a habitual pattern of rationalizing, unless you stop rationalizing? Like, then we have to zoom out and show him, I don't give a fuck about your individual rationalizations. I want to now show you the broad pattern, which is I keep trying to show you you're rationalizing and you keep doing it. Do you think part of the problem as to why you've been in this cycle of going up and down in weight, carrying a burden of bricks for 3 years, is that you keep rationalizing things? Yes. Are you at the point when you're going to rationalize another day, another time on this phone call, or are you done with that? I'm done with that. Why? What changed from 30 seconds ago when for the third time on this call, you continued to rationalize yourself despite me inviting you to an honest way of seeing things? What changed? Blank. Okay. Is that change enough that you are not going to revert back to rationalizing in the next 3 minutes at the end of this call when you come into the program, if we let you into the program, and 6 months into the program when you could revert back to rationalizing? Is this turning point that you've now just had, this come to Jesus moment, is that enough that you're not going to revert back to rationalizing? Yes. Why not? And I'm going to keep tying it down and tying it down and tying it down until he cannot back out of that tie down. Make sense?
Got it.
Great,
Yeah.
great question, Harrison. Great point.
Yeah, and the only other thing too is that because when I was on Health and Fitness, I get people like this all the time, like giving off all these different excuses, information. But it felt like you always went back to, when it came to the questions you were asking, it came back to the discipline he said in the very beginning. And it's more to clarify, it kind of goes what you said last week about the truth meter. Is it always just coming back to what data point did he speak the most truth with? And I just asked this to really try to separate, or just have a better idea of how to separate out the surface level stuff that doesn't need to get summarized versus like the actual truth on there.
Yep, 100%. David?
Yeah, thank you. So my offer is a little bit different in a sense, the cryptocurrency portfolio offer, where different from Lee's offer, like nobody's going to completely neglect what they're doing in fitness and think that they might just get lucky. I will have some prospects who in the realm of crypto, they've had some random big wins, which makes them feel like they might be able to just get lucky again without an approach. Within that, how do I kind of get them to take responsibility in a niche where people feel like there's a chance that they might get lucky? Is that just about me saying, well, why haven't you gotten bigger results more consistently or something like that? It feels a little bit trickier there.
So all you need to know is what happened. So they made blank amount of money. How did that happen? Oh, I put it on this coin. How did you choose that? Oh, I just guessed, or I just did blank, or I just did what? Okay, why not just do that again? And it's the why not just do that again. They need to tell you a compelling reason why they can't just continue that. So it's about gathering the data of what was the result and how did they get that result, if it was a good result, and then why not just do that again? And then if they say, oh, well, you know, I could do that. Okay, great. Do that then. There would be absolutely no reason and no potential for success as far as your commitment and certainty to join this mastermind for crypto investing if you believe that the strategy of taking a guess and hoping and praying that you make the right guess is something that you're willing to continue. The type of clientele that we work with inside this crypto mastermind, they are strategists. They want to have information that, let's just say, cannot be found anywhere else, that allows them to roll the dice in their favor. And they do not want to be the type of people that gamble with their money and make investments just by guessing. If that is the type of person that you want to continue being, you are not a fit. You just unsell.
Got it. And then by asking that 99 times out of 100, they're going to have to say out loud themselves to me, okay, well, the chances are by guessing in the past, it's not going to work again. Got it.
Why not? Well, it was a guess. Okay. You made that, and you have to keep going though. You made that guess in the past with money that you didn't have. Now you've had that success. You have more money. So why not take a few guesses and gambles? No, because of blank, 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 blank. You have to go 5 layers beneath that. It's always the extra layers, guys, where the difference is between being a master closer that gets rich and being an average closer that stays middle of the road. It's not the question. It's the next 3 or 4 questions that come underneath it. Yeah. Oh, why not just do that? Oh, no, I don't want to do that. Okay, cool. Next question. No. Well, you did that before. What's different now? Well, this is different now. Why is that different now? What is different about that now? Okay, why? And you just keep asking why or what or when or how, another 3 or 4 questions, and then they're tied in. But they're not only tied into the tie down of what you were talking about, their perception of you is completely different. They're like, fuck me, this guy's a genius. I'm not afraid to give him my credit card. One of my funniest videos on Instagram, I've got this video that says don't ever send people a payment link, and I've got like, I don't know, fucking 20,000 people under the comments saying, this is bullshit. You definitely shouldn't ask someone to read out their 16-digit cards on the phone. It's like, well, I made more money than you doing that. And it's just funny how people think that the issue is whether people are going to trust you to take their card details over the phone. It's if you are the type of person that is that much of an expert, people will read out their 16-digit card number. They don't care. But if they see you as someone that can only ask a question and never go deeper, then you ask them to give you their credit card and give you $10,000. They're like, fuck no, I need to ask my wife. And you're like, oh, how long have you been married? Oh, I don't actually have a wife. Huh? What? Like they just make up some bullshit smokescreen about needing to ask their wife. And then you go on their Facebook and they're fucking single for the last 10 years. They just lie because they don't trust you. Okay. All right, let's keep going.
I'd seen this as a potential solution, but that's the idea of this call. I might be right, I might be wrong, but I'd seen this as a potential solution to help me. That even if I'm away, a week, a month in Denmark, in Copenhagen, and I need something that's portable. I use a gym in the hotel, but you can't get better food than you get in Copenhagen, so it's easy. Even the rabbit food tastes nice over there.
Makes total sense. So what is it in particular? What I'm wondering is, what are you maybe worrying about as you're progressing towards 50 now in a couple of months, if everything was just to stay the same with what you're currently doing? Like, what is there anything that you're currently worrying about?
Well, I think I could be in better shape. So I think I could be in better shape and look better, so my wife and I are good and happy and all that. But I just want to be in better health and feel good, look good.
Look good to who?
And I think it'll make me sharper and more productive at work. More decisive and all round better, because I don't think you need to be a slave. So
So why have you been a slave to your lack of discipline? People just give you so much juice. It's insane. If I was on the call with these people, they'd be fucking destroyed. Oh, discipline, and then I'm just going to use that against them the whole call.
If I do nothing and continue where I am,
I don't want to be a slave. So why have you been a slave to fucking eating canteen food? Like he's just boxing himself into a corner. I don't even have to try.
It'll be okay. I'm certainly better than I've been, but I'd like, when I was 40 years old, I think I was fit.
Were you more disciplined? Huh.
And I feel a big difference. So I'm feeling a bit lagged behind at the minute. And I don't want to see another degradation over the next, obviously when you're 10 years
degradation, that's a big word.
older, there will be, but I don't want to be sitting around at 60. I want to be fit at 60.
We're not talking about 60, you're 50.
I'm pretty competitive.
Not even 50, 49.
So like,
how are you so competitive if you're not disciplined enough to go to a gym in London?
I want to be doing stuff, and I'd love to get out and do some right.
Like, people say a lot of nice things, guys, but you have to show them the truth, not what they say. People say so much bullshit. So do you, so do I, to ourselves. That is the secret to life, guys, is comparing the facts with the words.
I've never been a great runner, but obviously when you have your knee snapped and you sort of, it's like having a new leg because it's been reconnected. So I've never ran a marathon, but I'm thinking now I'd love to be able to run a marathon in a few years' time.
Wishes, dreams, hopes, future stuff, not important. Doesn't matter. Running a marathon. Oh, so what happens if 6, 12, 18 months go by and you haven't run a marathon? Don't ever fucking say something like that.
And stuff like that. So I've got, I want to be skiing really well at 60. I want to be,
we need to get off to 60.
Be just healthy and doing well.
Makes total sense. Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
How does it make you feel, given the fact what you've just said there? At 40, you were fit. Now you feel like you're lagging behind, and you aren't in the shape that you want to be in. You don't look the way you want to look, and you don't have the better health, and essentially the look good and feel good factor.
You see how because we didn't go layers deeper onto any of those things, they don't matter. Like, look good to who? Feel good in what way? What does feel good mean? Like, does that mean he has no libido? I don't know what that means. So we can't summarize things if we haven't gone layers deeper.
How does that make you feel?
Still landed though.
Disappointed and a little bit disappointed and a little bit.
So given how much that landed, that tells me this guy's in some real fucking pain, because we're on surface level questions, surface level conversation, and it's landing this much. Imagine if we'd have gone those layers deeper and then we summarized it back to him and then said, how does that make you feel? He'd be on the fucking floor crying. Literally, he'd be on the floor crying in tears if we'd have gone layers deeper.
Ashamed of myself.
Because this is a big reaction for a guy from a question that was very surface level. Pete?
Is there any chance, like, let's say that was the case for a call, you go this far into it and he's gotten away with bullshit, and then you pick up on that like you just did, like there's obviously something going on. Is there anything you could do to just like completely cut through all the like wasted time and just be like, hey man, like I'm sensing there's more to like what you're telling me, and just shut up and like, would that cut through it and like maybe save it? Or
yeah, you could literally just say what you said. Perfect. I would contextualize it. I'd say, so, I asked you about things that are 10 years away. And I noticed when you said disappointment and the way that you're expressing this to me, I sense that there's a lot more going on, given how the question was something 10 years away and you're having a very real and honest reaction. What's going on? So I would just contextualize it a little bit more, but exactly like you said, Pete, yeah, you just pick up and try and start having a deeper conversation.
I feel like Neo in the Matrix right now, man. I'm telling you what, I'm feeling it.
Love that. Yeah, when you actually get this, it's like, I mean, you can see how quickly I'm figuring this stuff out for everybody that's been here for a while. It's a superpower, guys. And that's why if you really want to become someone special in life that can make a lot of money, that can help a lot of people, that can really feel like your life has meaning, this is one of the superpowers that's real, guys. At the moment, there's no such thing as super strength, flying, invisibility. Those things don't exist, but you can definitely develop this as a superpower. Marcus?
Yeah, two things. So one is, I think we missed that when you paused, because you just said I'm ashamed of myself. So maybe we can just go back 2 seconds. But what I wanted to say based on Pete's point is I think the difficulty with that is, and that was, I think, I think it was 2 weeks ago when you had that basketball analogy where you were saying, well, look, if you were a single player in a single game, and then there's no other players and you're the only variable in the game, and you don't realize you're out of state, so you're not asking the questions as you should be, or you're not picking up on these things, and nobody's having an intervention with you to be like shaking you, like, okay, you missed this, and that, then you don't even think of asking a question like Peaches did, right? Like that's the whole issue. So you don't just wake up in the middle of the call and be like, oh shit, I haven't been tuned in for the last 15 minutes, so I should probably tune in now, unless for some kind of reason somebody, I don't know, slaps you in the face or you see something, like you said, next to you, your checklist or whatever, and you wake up. But that's the whole point why once we lose the call, we lost it, right?
Yeah. Yeah, it's very, very unlikely. The only chance that is logical is the prospect rationalizes something that was so obvious to you as a rationalization that even in your state of blindness, you're like, wait, what the fuck did he just say? Like, that is so obviously a rationalization. That could happen, but it has to be a really extreme, obvious lie or rationalization. And remember, being in the right state is not just about seeing things, it's about being able to act on them. In other words, you might see that absolute lie, but you're in this state of weakness and fear and scarcity and, oh, I didn't have a good week this week. And so you see the lie and you're like, oh, fuck, I'm 50 minutes into the call. Do I want to start calling this motherfucker out now? Oh, no, never mind. I'll just carry on with the call. And you may see it and you just choose to not do anything. Because at the front part of the call, when you first start, you need to choose to show up as a leader. I'm going to challenge the prospect. I'm going to show the prospect the truth. I don't need the sale. I'm in abundance. Money flows to me. It comes everywhere. I'm relaxed. I'm chill. I'm a chillionaire. I'm curious. All of your state checklist things. That's how you need to choose to start the call. Yeah.
And also, Josh, like what I realized from me, if I, let's say if I'm in state in a call, and then if after when I'm not in state, I review a call where I was in state, I don't realize what I'm doing. It's like a different language. It's almost like in the call, I'm speaking Chinese. I'm not in state watching the call. I'm like, how the fuck did I do that? And vice versa, when you're not in state on the call and you're watching a call while you're in state and you're like, why the fuck did I not call out this, right? So you're the same person watching the call and being in the call, but if you're in two different states, it's almost like you're a first grader teaching somebody in 10th grade math and you have no idea how to do it.
I'm really glad you explained all of that. It's spot on. Yeah, like my favorite bit, although you explained both directions, was you're out of state watching a call where you were in state and you're like, how the fuck did I say that or do that or know to say that? That's the point, guys. It's like you do know what to do and how to do these things if you actually work on your life as a whole and you choose to show up to these calls. Having done the training outside of the calls, when it comes to game time, you just switch off whatever you've been training on and you just turn up to that call in state and you bring the best version of you that you possibly can. And you'll be like, I don't even know how the fuck I said that or did that or knew what to say. You're just so tuned in.
And that's also why, like, if some other closers would watch your calls, or like, let's say prior to us having all this training, we would watch other people's calls where they were in state, you wouldn't realize what they were doing. You were like,
no,
what are they doing? It doesn't make any sense.
Or my favorite one is some people have watched some of my very early calls, which are in this mastermind, and gone, well, Josh didn't really have to do anything that advanced. The guy just kind of opened up to me. It's like, yeah, no shit, because I was actually working on my life as a whole, which means I'm showing up to the call the right way. I'm doing my training. I'm investing in a mentor. I'm doing my morning 5-minute journal. I'm doing everything. So therefore, I've created an energy around me, a vortex, where I'm just going to attract those types of prospects. And then someone else watches the call and it's like, well, that was just an easy prospect. It's like, so why the fuck are you getting difficult prospects then? What is wrong with you and wrong with your life? And what little weakling are you that you attract such weak people into your life, as opposed to trying to criticize me because I was so advanced in my personal development that I was actually making my life easier? Do you want me to pat you on the back because you're making your life harder? Does that make you feel better that you're working harder than me and getting less results and making less money? Is that really what you want to tell yourself is an accomplishment? Fucking go for it. Be
Yeah,
my
it's
guest.
like what they tell us on the software that I just started on, and like they have different lists, so it's like C, B, A leads based on their credit score and whatever. Like they run these diagnostics on AI when they book the call, and in the beginning, obviously they give you C leads to see how you're doing on dials. And I was like, there's no such thing as a C lead in my mind. Like it's somebody that books a call, they have a problem, and then you close them. That's it, and that's what I did.
Or my favorite one is all of the C leads that filled out an application form and said they don't have much money or didn't put much information in the application form. Those are the leads that need your help the most, and that you would actually be being more of a leader to try and actually take a genuine call with those people and help them, as opposed to going, oh, well, they're just a shit lead. I won't tell them. I won't talk to them. Like, I think I've said this story before. In my very early first 2 months in sales, I got handed a certain category of leads. We could just call them A-type leads that had a certain amount of money. It was $100,000 or more for the offer that we were selling, which was $15,000 offer. And I had a belief that anybody that didn't meet that criteria on the application form and was making 50 grand a month or less than 50 was just, they're never going to have the fucking money. I then got forced by the underground mentor to take those calls as a punishment because of my belief. He was like, right, take those calls and you're only going to get those fucking leads. You can't have any of the better leads. And I took them and I chose to take them genuinely and show up in the right way. And I was like, holy fuck, I just got a $14,000 payment out of a guy that worked at FedEx and made, I think he made like $40,000 a year as a postman, and he just paid $14,000. And I had that first one and I was like, how much money is in all of these $50,000 or less leads that I have just ignored? So I started taking all of the leads, all of them. I had the same amount of sales from people that made $500,000 or more a year from people that made $50,000 or less. They were just slightly more difficult calls, which was brilliant because that's how I got better at sales. That's how I learned to actually help the people that most closers would just leave on the side of the road and say, oh, I don't want to help you because you're a harder prospect. Well, then what's going to happen? Going back to the universe, you don't want to help the people that need your help more. Watch what happens to your $100,000 lead. They're going to dry the fuck up real fast because you don't deserve them. Your marketing will just tank and you'll be like, what happened to all my good leads? Well, motherfucker, you didn't care enough about the people that needed you. So now God is not going to reward you with the people that were going to be easy sales.
So Josh, with that point in mind, I had a lead come through on Instagram and my setter, the guy said that he only had he wants to get to 40K a month, but right now he only has like $300 in his bank account right now. And my setter was basically pushing him off and asking me, should we, just provide him some free value, give him some YouTube videos or something like that. And then when he gets to the position when he can have a call to book the call, would that be not the good approach? Just go ahead and take the call with him, even if we know he admitted that he only has like $300 in his account?
Even just for you to be doing the training of running a full discovery, you may as well.
Okay, thank you.
Take a real call.
Thanks.
You're welcome. I've always believed that taking real calls is way better than doing role plays. I'd rather take calls with unqualified prospects than doing role plays, because you actually get a real response. Whereas people can, especially if you're role playing with closers. Closers bring their own personal baggage to the role play. They try and be a difficult prospect because they get difficult prospects because they suck at sales. So, well, the prospect wouldn't have fucking said that because you wouldn't have fucked up the front part of the call. Jacob, that's you. No, I'm just kidding.
No, never. Josh, on this, yeah, you saw the smile. I did want to ask, so I know some of this is going to be niche to like tax alchemy, but because you were selling on a crypto offer where it's not just the purchase price, they then need the capital. That's kind of where we're at. So we need people to have 100K in liquidity minimum to one, be able to afford our services, but to then also be able to go out and do stuff. And when I get people on the phone that either they're under the income threshold at all to even have a big enough tax problem to make our services value, or if they do have a big enough tax problem, but they don't have enough liquidity and can't, we talk about what they can do and they just can't. Like, I just want to be really clear that, because the advice that I was given by like Skylar Was I can't spend 30 minutes coaching them on life advice.
No,
Yeah.
your job is not to coach. If you have an actual financial qualifier, like let me give you an example.
Yeah.
I was on the dating offer, and we were selling to men who wanted a woman, and I got on a call once, and it was a guy that was gay, and he was like, "Well, can you get me guys?" And I was like, "We can't do that. Like, it's just not how our business is set up." So if there is a tangible reason that you can't help someone, I'm not saying to coach them for 30 minutes. No, if your qualifier is to work with us at our service with our program, you need $100,000 liquid, and at the front part of the call, what's your biggest challenge? Blank. Okay, got it. How much are you looking to, save tax on? And they say, well, I've only got 50 grand. You say, okay, awesome. The minimum threshold to work with us is $100,000. So at this point, we can't help you. If that changes in the near future, feel free to reach back out. Great meeting you. Have a great day. And that's it.
And due to that, I am not wrong for respectfully trying to get them off the call quickly just because we can't help them. And I'm not doing it in like, oh, fuck you, we can't help you. Like, that's not my mindset. I can't help them. So I need to talk to people I can.
Correct. There's only 2 additional things that I would possibly ask after that, which, once I've said we can't help you, awesome, no worries. I'm just curious, was there any particular reason that you booked in the call not having met the threshold? If it's clear on the market,
they don't know the 100K. So, but people will
Okay.
book in under 300K that know they have to be at that, and they lie and say they do.
Then I think you have an ethical responsibility, and it sends the right message to the universe to challenge them on that.
Yeah.
So I would say any particular reason that you booked in the call not having met the threshold, knowing that that is our threshold, say it very calmly. And then if they say, well, I just wanted to see what you do, say, okay, so you wanted to waste our time, because that's true.
Okay.
So you knew that we only work with people, and that we have a number of people that want to work with us, hence why we're very honest and upfront and selective in the inbound process for our initial consultation here. And you decided that you didn't want to follow our process, and your time was worth more than either our time or the time of the people that we can help, that we should be helping, that we're now not on the phone with because you've blocked off one of those slots.
A slot that you knew you had to be at a threshold to meet, but you didn't.
Correct.
Yeah. Okay. Was there a second part to that? I thought you said there was 2 things.
I don't remember the second part.
That's good.
Hey, Josh.
Because what that's one final bit on that, because what that's doing as far as sending a message to the universe, Jacob, is, are you a better person looking at the big picture of, other people, if you allow someone to void your process and do not tell them or invite them to the realization that that was very selfish? Are you a leader in life? No, you're not. You're the type of person that just, oh, okay, well, you wasted my time. All right, no worries, bye. No, a leader is someone that actually tries to show people the truth, whether they want to accept it or not, whether that person is useful to them or not, whether that person is going to transact with them or not. As a leader, you have a moral modus operandi, which is, I try and bring the truth to light in the world, in the universe, when I've been given an opportunity where I can either choose truth or falsehood. And if you always choose truth, then that's the snowball effect that you're cascading out into reality. Now, to be clear, you can flip that the other way, where you've now fucked up your karma, which is, I'm trying to get this person to see the truth because I want to be the big I am. If you're doing it for that reason, you've now taken the same action and turned it into a negative. It should literally just be, I want to invite this person to a better way of thinking, which is to not waste people's time, to not void the process that we have. I don't give a fuck whether they agree with it, disagree with it, want to fight me, not want to fight me. I'm just going to say what's the truth. Not so I feel better, not so I feel like, oh, you wasted my time and I'm pissed off with you for wasting my time, so now I'm going to put it back onto you. So it's always about the intention. Leaders care about doing the right thing for the very sake of doing the right thing. That's it.
Do you have any small fragment in you that has that feeling, even a 0.5% of being somewhat annoyed that this person did that?
All the time. That's why I'm still on this personal development journey. I have many times where someone winds me up and I want to I do it sometimes. We get Instagram DMs from people that are like, my favorite one now is someone messages and asks a question, you know, oh, can I join if I'm in Dubai? And the response that we now have is, I only answer questions to people that are ready to enroll today. And then they respond back and say, well, I'm not ready to enroll today. I was just curious. There is times where I've responded and said, so you just wasted my time, because I get annoyed or I get triggered. That's part of life. But I'm on the same personal development journey as you guys. I'm just a little bit further ahead. I still constantly have to check myself and think, well, this is probably, I'm triggered personally rather than doing the right thing. So yeah, all the time. It's what the video is on YouTube that I uploaded today that we had the rant for on the Rants and Role Plays last Friday, which is, until we all remember that this journey we're on is a constant personal development journey where the challenges that we face personally are the obstacle that is the way to the next level of our life. You're trying to solve a problem tactically based on sales skills or sales this or sales that, not realizing that the real journey we're all on is, I need to constantly handle the parts of me that are insecure, the parts of me that are triggered, the parts of me that are lazy, the parts of me that lie to myself and lie to other people. It's that focus that is what we're all here doing. And I'm still on that journey. The only one I know that's not on that journey is UM. He's the only person I've ever fucking met that has actually beat the game.
That's exactly why I asked this question. So when you are, and I don't want to harp on this, but I think this is really important. When you say those things to people and you are helping bring them to a higher level, there are still parts of you, even during that, that feel those old feelings. Like you're annoyed at them for wasting your time, but it's about the intent. So like you're going to have that. That's what I mean.
No, I misunderstood the question. There are some times where I get personally annoyed and therefore don't do the right thing. And there are other times where I just genuinely try to invite someone for the right way to think, just to invite them to the right way to think. What I'm saying is it's the inconsistency optimizing to improve. So let me give an example. Person that is very underdeveloped. Every single time someone wastes their time, they do one of two things every single time. They get triggered and fight back against the prospect, or they just don't do anything about it. They just say, okay, have a nice day, bye. So every single time, let's say over a 30-day period, that happened 10 times. Every single time, their response to that experience is a low consciousness response. Person B is 50% of the way through their personal development journey. 10 times in 30 days, they get a prospect that wants to waste their time. 50% of the time, they just say, you know, can I be honest with you? Yes. So you knew that we had a process and you wanted to avoid that process, blah, 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 blah. And you tell them the truth 50% of the time. The other 50% of the time, you get triggered and you fight back against the process. Oh, well, you wasted my time. You're an asshole, blah, 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 blah. So the difference between person A and person B is that the frequency that they're doing it, and it could also be the intensity, is less often. Then you have someone that's very advanced, which is like, let's call it 80 to 90% of the way spiritually enlightened. And they get that 10 times in 30 days. And only one time do they choose, probably in that case, they would choose not to fight back against the prospect. They would actually choose, you know what, I can't even be bothered to try and invite the prospect to realize that they're not showing up the right way. I'll just not bother. You didn't bother, not because that was the best thing for the person. You didn't bother because you were like, oh, I don't care enough. I can't be bothered. And so it's a spectrum. It's how often are you choosing a low consciousness reaction versus a high consciousness reaction. It's not, you know, 0 or 1. It's I'm getting better. I'm improving. It happens less often. It happens to a lower intensity. And that's what you're working on. Does that make sense?
It does. I'm finding a duality. So like while it's happening, I still feel that annoyance just in me to a degree, but the intent. Okay.
Then it's not really happening, because if you're doing what's right, but you're still personally triggered, you're doing what's right because you've memorized what's right, not that you are being the person that is doing the right thing. You're doing it from memorization. Oh, Josh told me to do this. Here's the scenario. If this, then that. If I'm in this situation, I should do this. I don't actually want to do that. I don't actually believe that. I don't actually feel that. I'm not actually that person that would do that, but I'm going to fake it because that's what Josh said to do. That means you may as well not bother. It should be coming from a genuine place of love, which is this is the right thing to do. And so you need to get to a place where you're actually in that state more often.
So you just choose. You just choose to be in that state and choose to do this because you know it's the best thing for them and not because you're annoyed.
Yes, although it's not usually something that you choose in the moment.
Not in the moment, of course. Yeah, that's hard.
That in your day-to-day life, you're choosing to be a more evolved leader, a more evolved person. Therefore, when you get into that scenario, you know, prospect turns up to the call, wasting your time because they haven't met the criteria. You're now more often the type of person that actually just wants to do what's right for other people, regardless of whether it's easier for you. Great questions.
I understand. Thank you.
You're very welcome, brother. All right.
Jeremy had a question, I think.
Jeremy?
I think no, I think it's good for now because Jacob had that good realization. I'm just going to leave it there because there was he kind of did this like thing where when you said that first statement about like challenging them, he kind of went like grimaced or whatever, and I was curious about.
Oh, it was just exciting. It was shit gets real sometimes, so it's like, it got real.
Jacob's a masochist, so
yeah, I was wondering, you know, if you know, when he made that reaction, what he was feeling, and if there was something that Josh might be able to help him process through that feeling. But I think he just kind of processed through it all right there with that 5-minute interaction.
All right, let's keep going in this.
Behind, and you aren't in the shape that you want to be in. You don't look the way you want to look, and you don't have the better health, and essentially the look good and feel good factor. How does that make you feel?
Well, disappointed and a little bit ashamed of myself. But yeah, I want to be sharper. But I'm not doing too bad. But I want to be sharper.
Well, understood. What specifically about that makes you say it's disappointing and it's making you feel ashamed? What specifically?
Interesting question. I think it's because it's probably the route of how you get there. So I know that I need to choose a slightly healthier lifestyle. Yeah.
So at this point, if we'd have ran the call the same way that we've ran it, but we're now at this point, I'd say, can I share something with you? And I'm very curious your thoughts. And he says yes. I'd say the number one pattern that I'm seeing that is causing you to have this inconsistency with your weight is it starts and ends in the inconsistency in your mind, which is every time we get into the truth about how you feel disappointed or how you feel ashamed about not being in the shape that you could be in, immediately after admitting that, you bounce back to this, but it's not that bad. Do you think the problem in regards to you being inconsistent in your results has been the inconsistency in your mind of whether this is a problem or is not a problem? And you see how we're now connecting the tangible physical thing, which is he's going up in weight, down in weight, up in weight, down in weight, to the actual root cause, which is his way of thinking about it is inconsistent. You see how we're solving such a high level mindset thing inside this prospect's mind, finding the pattern and showing him the pattern. And then he's going to be like, oh, yeah. And then we finally get to a point in the call where we can make an actual decision. So which one is it? Is it not that bad? Life's fine. Could be better, but life's fine. Or is it, I'm disappointed with myself. I'm ashamed of this and I need to fix that. It can't be both unless, Simpson, you choose it to be both and continue to choose to have this up and down and up and down. Is that what you want? No. Why not? How much longer then are you going to keep telling yourself it's disappointing and shameful, but it's not that bad? How much longer are you going to continue telling yourself these contradictory messages to your mind, to your subconscious mind, to your conscious mind, and therefore having a path that is going to guarantee you continue to have inconsistent results? Dot connecting. Yes, Malik. You see that, guys? Dot connecting.
So I need to be, you know, it's basically calories in and kilowatts out as I look at it. So I need to be choosing a healthier lifestyle in terms of calories in. So that's kind of a
What's stopping you from doing that?
personal discipline thing. And that probably needs to modify with age. In terms of kilowatts out, you know,
kilowatts out, like we're getting so technical. No, motherfucker, you're just not disciplined and lying to yourself. You see how people try and explain their thing with like levels of detail that are just not relevant. Oh, it's the kilowatt hours and the calories. No, it's that you're a liar and you're undisciplined. That's the actual problem. Let's not fucking label a pig a cow. It's not that.
The Peloton's been revolutionary for me.
And there's no gyms in London. I forgot that one.
Because it gives me 30 minutes of sweat in the morning, 5-6 days a week. And I think if I wasn't doing that, I think I don't think it'd be in a great place, because I'm going through a physio program with my right leg where it's weakened. It's got like 40% of the strength of where it was. So, you know, that's affected my back, gives you pains that I've never had before. So yeah.
You know what I'm trying to understand here is because like you're getting older, like we all do. Like,
yeah.
Right. You're still doing some training. You're still able to move about, albeit.
What I like about this is Lee is not moving forward. He's like, I still don't feel like I've got enough, which is good. I'd rather see someone, you know, even if the reason that we haven't got enough is because we're not doing the right things, at least Lee is aware of like, I haven't got him. Like I just haven't got him where I need him. He's not in the crosshairs, so I'm not going to pull the trigger.
You know, the skiing and stuff isn't as long as you would like to. What I'm trying to really understand is like, what's so bad about
right? Like he's like, I just don't have enough. That's good awareness from Lee.
You're at right now and having this feeling of
good awareness and also good abundance. And what I mean by abundance is not being like, I'm aware that I haven't got him, but I feel so insecure and scarce in my commissions or closes lately that I'm just going to move on. One thing is being aware. The second thing is actually aligning your actions to your awareness, which is even harder. It's like the person that knows they're in a toxic relationship and is well aware of that for the last 2 years, but yet they still choose to stay. No, it's the person that's aware and then chooses to leave and actually follows through on it.
Disappointment and shame that you mentioned. What's so bad about that?
Beautiful. And this is where, you know, he's basically repeated the same question, which a lot of closers feel extremely uncomfortable to do. They're like, ah, fuck, I've already asked that question. I didn't get the answer I wanted. I don't want to ask it again because then I might look stupid. No, you just ask it again. Ask it again, being fully capable of handling that the prospect might try and fight back. Well, you just asked that. I just answered it. I appreciate that, but I don't feel like I got, you know, enough clarity on that. And you have to be willing to stay in the pocket.
Hey, Josh, on the question on like the guilt and shame, asking that question, I'm reading that book, Letting Go, you know, and there's levels of consciousness, and guilt and shame is like at the bottom of the list of vibrations. Like, is that good to ask those questions about?
Wait till you get to the section, Jeremy, on letting go that is actually talking about sales. The number one most powerful emotions that you can get someone in to close a deal is guilt and shame.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
I think I see what you're trying to get to, but it's kind
of right. He's like, fuck, I know what we're trying to get to.
What's so bad about it? Well, it depends who you are, I suppose.
Who are you?
I could say there's nothing that bad, particularly.
Do you think that's why you haven't actually got this solved?
But the way I want to see myself.
You see how I'm not trying to close him. I'm trying to show him you can have that belief if you absolutely want. Just be aware, have your eyes fully open that that's why you are where you are. I don't care. I'm not attached to it. It's fine. No worries. That's how you are. That's how you have been for 3 years. And you are where you are. Cause and effect.
Is in good form, is sharp. I like being pretty sharp when I'm in a room, healthy and sharp. So, you know, I'm in a boardroom where, you know, one guy's wife is a nutritionalist, another guy's Italian. They're probably about 2 stone. They're probably 2 stone less than me, and I personally feel a bit of a fat lump. And when we go on the big Microsoft Teams screen, I don't know. I just go, yeah, it looks like a fat guy. And
you do know. How do you feel?
And 4 or 5 slim people. And then when I fly to Nordics, it's very similar. So, you know, I do feel overweight.
How many Zoom calls did you have with them this week? How long are those Zoom calls? How does it feel to you to sit there for 2 hours feeling like as the fat one next to the other 4 guys? How do you think they think about you? Is there anyone on that call that's senior to you? How do you think they're perceiving you, seeing that the other 3 guys have taken the discipline to keep in shape, whether they're in London or whether they're not in London, not lie to themselves that not being in shape is not that bad, and you haven't? How do you think they perceive you, right? Show him the consequences.
So that
his peers think he's a weakling. His boss thinks he's irresponsible. Show them the consequences.
You know, that's why I want to change, if I'm honest.
Thank you for being honest. Finally, that's very much appreciated.
Understood. Makes total sense, Simpson. So the biggest area that this is kind of making you feel disappointed in.
Lee's not on the call anymore, but we don't know why this is a big deal, though. He's told us where we're going to begin to dig. If we imagine treasure map, we have found where X marks the spot, but we haven't started digging yet. We've just found where X marks the spot. Oh, okay, now I found the issue. Then you have to do all the questions that I just told you. Now, the catch here is we're 17 minutes into the call, and we're only now starting the discovery, if we actually went deep now. That is because after the opening question, it should have taken us 5 minutes or less to get to this. In other words, we should have 12 minutes more to go deeper than we have. That's why you guys are getting stuck with time on calls and getting stuck with number of closes. We should have got to this within 5 minutes from the opening question, not 17.
Shameful in now is.
And why did it take this long? Because of every single time where Lee let the guy rationalize and lie and go off the hook. Therefore, what would have happened at around 5 minutes when we don't let him off the hook and he goes, you know what, if I'm being honest, this is the reason. Oh, okay, thanks. That didn't happen for another 10 minutes. Oh, you are here, bro. I thought you'd left.
Just a quick one on that.
Sorry, Lee, I couldn't see you.
No, all good, my man. This has been so helpful because I wasn't actually aware how much this guy was actually rationalizing. And I was maybe thinking that, am I just not asking the right questions and it's just not going to enough depth? So when we got to this point of the call, because I wrote down all the questions from this call. So I have them in front of me. So like when I got to this point, I didn't dig because I was like, why didn't I dig? Because I don't know, I felt like I was dancing around. But now based upon this, yes, I should have gotten there faster, but he was just rationalizing so much. So my question is, in order to get there so much faster, because that was one of the biggest takeaways from this call, it was like 28 questions in discovery. And I was like, just felt like it took so long to get to the truth. Like the work stuff isn't even the truth yet. Like this is like level 4 and we're about to go to layer 5 next and he tells the actual truth.
Nice.
So in order for me to get to the truth faster, I just need to be more direct and call him out on his rationalizing, but in a not like super state changing way where it comes across kind of like judgmental. Is that accurate?
Yeah, like I think one of the very first ones was, oh, well, I have the Peloton, but I was in London. Okay, was there no way for you to exercise in London? Yes. So why didn't you? Well, I wasn't being disciplined enough. Okay, so you weren't disciplined enough when you were in London with probably the largest amount of gyms in any vicinity in the world. So why now, after not being disciplined for 3 years, are you actually taking this seriously enough that you've booked in a call with a coach? Well, to be honestly, if I'm honest, it's these calls that I'm taking with my peers. I'm like the fat one, and we would have got there from one question, from actually just telling him like, don't fuck with me, like don't lie to me, don't lie to yourself, or we ain't getting anywhere in this call. Yeah, and then when the prospect realizes they can't lie to you, their sometimes subconscious decision to delay telling the truth, it just breaks. They're like, okay, I'm just going to tell this guy what's going on because it's going to help him help me. And that's what the prospect feels all of a sudden. They're like, this person is not trying to just close a deal by being the nice guy and, being really nice to me. And, oh, that must be really bad. Let me pat you on the back. It must be so horrible being overweight. And, yeah, it's really difficult when you go to London and, you're traveling and work and business. And it's, it's really difficult. And you're placating to him and you're basically agreeing with his stories. Then the prospect is like, this person doesn't need to know the truth because they don't care about the truth. They don't actually want to help me. They just want to close me. They just want to close a deal. When the prospect sees you don't care about closing the deal, you care about getting to the truth, the prospect's like, well, the only way I can have a conversation with this person is being bloody honest. So then they're going to be honest with you. Does that make sense?
Makes total sense. Yeah, makes total sense. Yeah.
All right. I think we've got to enough on that as far as you know what you need to do next time, right?
Yeah, so just to recap there, if I was getting to the truth a lot faster and holding him more accountable and not allowing him to rationalize as much, it would have been a higher likelihood that he would have closed. One thing I did notice that I missed, I didn't insert any sort of how much longer. I didn't tie him up like that at the end. And I feel like if I had have potentially done that along with being more direct and getting to the truth a lot faster, it would have potentially left to a higher likelihood that he would have closed on the call because he didn't close on the call. The objection was, I need time to reflect and think, basically.
Yeah, because he is still lying to himself and still rationalizing that it's not a big deal, but it is a big deal, but it's not a big deal, but it is a big deal. He can't make a decision when he's in that state of indecisiveness. You needed to show him his indecisiveness, show him how that's the one single thing that's causing his inconsistent results, how that's causing him to look like a pathetic weakling in front of his colleagues, his boss, his wife, his children, if he has children, everything else, and then say, are you at the point when you're actually going to make a decision whether this is important or is not important? Yes, I am. Why? Why now? How much longer then are you going to continue to lie to yourself and rationalize it's not important? No fucking way then at the end of the call is he going to turn around and say, oh, I need to mull it over. No way. Not possible.
Hey guys, I've been struggling identifying problems, like what the actual problem is with my clients on a call. For those of you who watched the call review earlier, what do you think her problem actually was? What was Ashley's problem?
What do you think was Ashley's problem?
I think her problem was being forced into this masculine role had put her in a point in life where she doesn't know how to embrace her feminine side. And because she doesn't know how to show up feminine, she's attracting these pussy guys. And because she doesn't know how to attract an alpha male who is masculine, she's accepting those pussy guys and then being hurt by them when she gets vulnerable with them.
And do you feel like she knows that?
On the call, no. I feel like she would have if I did what Josh did in the role play.
Did you ask anything about like what her husband was like? Because
No,
her husband was like that.
Yeah, I didn't go into that. She just had said that she had a happy marriage.
Yeah,
How
for
long-
15 years.
How
have this
long has
problem
she been
too.
single?
5 years ago, her husband died.
But how long has she been looking?
4 years.
Okay, so 4 years.
Yeah, for
I
3
thought-
years. For 3 years, she was seeing a pussy beta who had no money and was emotionally immature. And then she decided to date this other little pussy guy who she got vulnerable with, and then he left her and hurt her feelings. Sorry, Victoria, what's up?
Oh, can you hear me? I can't even tell if my
Yeah,
Is
it's
on?
it's not your good microphone, but I can hear
okay.
you.
Yeah, I thought her problem was like she's too masculine, so she attracts pussy beta men.
Right.
But her problem is that she's like too masculine. She needs to fix that and be more feminine. And in her being more feminine, that would allow her to attract more beta men. But I also don't know if she actually has been attracting masculine men and pushing them away because I don't know.
Maybe
if
she's
that's the problem
butting.
too.
Maybe she's butting heads with them or something.
Right.
Yeah,
I
If she-
wish we
like-
got to this point in the call. There's one point where one of her employees comes out to get some information from her in the car, and she's like, "Yeah, I came to my car because I didn't want to be disturbed." And he's like, "Please excuse me," and then runs away. But literally, I think the fact that she's with pussy guys is a symptom of the core problem of being too masculine and bringing that masculine energy to her interactions.
And if that came out in the call to a degree, why do you feel like she didn't have that awareness?
If the masculine, I think when I gave my final summary, I didn't clearly connect those dots of her behavior of masculine energy being the core of the problem. I think in my final summary, I let the tools that she's missing. This is a habit that I've, become aware of through Josh's call reviews. I let the problem be the fact that she's missing the tools on where and how to attract this guy, as opposed to missing the tools on how to shift her internal state of being too masculine, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
I was just listening to Victoria's YouTube role play today, and it's funny that you said the tools because, like, at the end of, I literally wrote it down. At the end of the role play, Josh says, "You're not selling the product, the transformation, the program, the tools. You're selling the fact that their behavior is what's been holding them back, not like the tools that you're going to provide them."
Mm-hmm.
Which I feel like is very interesting because, like, if you said like, in your summary you were trying to like say like, oh, the tools is what you're missing, but like Josh was basically saying like that's not the problem. The problem that she would have need to realize and be sold on is like the way she's showing up
Right.
is like she needs to be sold on that idea, if that makes sense.
Yeah. And so when I had gone back through and rewatched it, my rewritten how much longer question is how much longer are you going to let being forced into this masculine role make you appear more aggressive and selfish and hold you back from creating that lifelong relationship? We can't hear you anymore, Victoria.
I think Victoria said something about being forced, right? Which was my question too. Like,
is she being forced? Because it just sounds like I'm being forced to be masculine. It's like, no, you're choosing.
Exactly.
To be
You're
masculine.
choosing.
Yeah.
Yes.
She's
So she was
choosing.
forced into the
now.
role, but she's
Yeah,
still
she was
choosing.
forced into the role. Yeah.
And she was forced how? Because her husband died?
Dying and her having to be the breadwinner.
Right. And then after her husband died, when she started dating, was she forced to choose these beta guys?
Right. No.
To me,
No,
it
she
sounds
chose
like
them.
she's shirking responsibility for her behaviors. Like,
I think
if
she's not aware. I think she's not aware that she's being masculine. And as a result of not being aware of being masculine, she's attracting beta men. And that's how I felt. But I don't know.
Well, Victoria, like in your call, when she was like, I'm not attracting men. And then there was the story of her sitting in the car and the guy giving her the number and going, what? Like that. So would be curious to Ian if this is happening to that woman as well, something of that degree, and she's just not allowing it to happen.
Yeah.
All right, guys. So it looks like Nikhil has a question. Doesn't look like anybody else has a question. So I'll do Nikhil's question now, and then we have 40 minutes more. So we can either do a cool review or a role play. So Nikhil, what's your question, brother?
Very tactical in terms of the sleeping stuff. So I followed your advice, turned off the breaker box, no electricity, and first night, automatically felt it, was sleeping way better. But without the AC, I was cooking alive, and I woke up in the middle of the night super hot. Now, my girlfriend is like, no, I can't do the AC. I love it with no electricity. So we're having this issue where she knows I need the room to be cold, but she doesn't want me to turn it on. So how should I manage that?
So
how should I even keep the room cold? I don't even know what to do.
It kind of goes to the point that long term, ideally, you want to live in a country or a climate where at night it's cool. That's the long term solution, but that might be 2 years away. Short term, I don't remember the brand, but there is a brand of device that you put on the bed cover, and it's like a mat, but it's actually water, and it cools the bed from water. However, there is the brand new one from that brand, which is you plug it into the electricity. The old version was battery powered. And so you can actually buy the old one and get the battery powered version. So then you don't need it plugged in. There's a number of these brands. I forget all of them. One's called 8 Sleep, like the number 8. Yep. Another one's called Bedjet. And then there's a couple more. I don't remember.
Bedjet's a fan. I don't think it's water.
No? Oh, okay.
Yeah, Bedjet's like a little fan thing. It blows air at you.
Huh, okay, maybe it's Bedjet. Okay,
Chili
so that one's
pad is
air.
the one my wife has that one.
The Bedjet.
No, the chili pad. It's called.
Oh, chili pad. That's the other one. Yeah, chili pad's another one. So anyway, one of these, I don't remember which one. And yeah, it doesn't have to be water. It could be the air cooled or the water cooled. What matters is that there was one of these brands that the old version didn't need to be plugged into the electricity. I don't remember which one it is, so you're going to have to look them all up. The other option is you put the AC on really, like as cold as it goes for the hours before you're sleeping. And then you just turn it off like literally when you're about to go to bed and see if that allows you to sleep through the night with it being colder. That's the only other thing you can do.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah. You're very welcome, brother. Another option to play around with is having a hot shower before or a cold shower before. Cold shower is better for relaxing you, but for some people, if they have a cold shower, their body actually starts to heat up on the inside to warm them back up. So play around with both. Try some cold showers, try some hot showers, see if that works as well. That's another option. That's all I've got.
Yeah, the cold showers turn my furnace on, so I think that would make me hot.
For a lot of people it does. Yeah. All right, Max, have you got a question?
Yeah. And if nothing that is there to cover, I can do role play as well. But a question, yeah. So so sometimes I get like a flaky behavior from prospects.
Yep.
And I saw your short as well, and it just kind of engraved in my mind, and I'm just wondering. So I'm like for a couple of days right now, I just think all the time in what areas I just act flaky, right? To just kind of change it. But how can I be sure if it's solved, because I just, in what areas, like there's in like, how can I be sure that I solved like the flakiness of my behavior, if that makes sense.
I don't know how you would know that you've solved it in general, but just when you have choices, when you have decisions, and you are in the moment where you can be delaying or procrastinating, to choose to not be that type of person that delays or procrastinates or lies to yourself or rationalizes. I don't know a way that you would know that you've solved it forever. And it also is like what I was saying to Jacob, that I don't know if you ever solve it permanently until you become the underground mentor. It's something that you are better at and better at and better at. And the more better you are, the less flaky people you attract into your life. But I don't know a way that you would just know completely that you've solved it. It's just something you have to consciously choose on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah, so basically in every situation when there is some kind of choice that I delay, like it's just more flakiness to overall. Yeah, okay, makes sense.
Yeah, choosing in your whole life to level up and be the person that's the best version of you consistently and in all areas, that's a conscious choice every day. It's not like a bank account where, okay, if I be the best version of myself for the next 30 days, then I've deposited a load of money into the bank and I can just stop being that version, but the money's still deposited. No, it's a day by day by day. You have to choose to be that person every day. You can't stack it up and say, okay, I've done everything right for the last 6 weeks. Have I solved it? It's like, well, not if you stop doing those things tomorrow. It's a choice constantly. Yeah. Okay, we do have more questions. All right, looks like we're going to just stay on questions then, guys. I think we had another one, at least call review, if not. But Victoria, what's your question?
Yeah, I posted my call review, but my question is, after UM's call review of mine, I was like, okay, I need to do more data collection, because through the data gathering, I'm going to get the prospect to have more clarity on the problem. And when I did that in this call, I'm having a hard time identifying and having the prospect identify the problem. And also what questions I need to have them do in order to, once they identify it, what they need in order to solve it. Does that make sense? And I have a tendency to overcomplicate things. So I know that I'm overcomplicating this, but I'm just finding I'm getting more confused. Yeah, I was just curious what your thoughts are on it.
So you're gathering data, and then the first thing is you're asking the prospect, why do you think this is, or why do you think this is happening? And you said you're having a hard time to get them to realize what the problem is. So what happens?
It's just unclear. They're like, I don't know. And then it just dissolves into, I don't know if I need to present the problem.
Okay, let me ask you another question. So the prospect says they don't know. Do you know what the problem is when you're asking the prospect, what do you think is the problem?
So in this call review, she did say that she knew, but she wasn't sure if that was the problem or not. And I wasn't, because through the data gathering, there were multiple problems. Like she was attracting uncommitted men. She was pushing guys away. She's too masculine. And so it just got really muddy and messy. On top of like the data gathering, I felt like it just wasn't streamlined at all.
Well, okay, so that's two different things. So let's start with not
Okay.
streamlined. A call that is scriptless, that is genuine, is not necessarily streamlined in the sense of I'm not going from this question to this question to the next one to the next one and just perfectly lining everything up. I'm asking questions to get more a broad picture and then zooming in on things and then getting a broad picture and then zooming in on things until all of a sudden I'm like, oh, that is connecting to that, which is causing that. And that's why that is happening. It's not like linear. It's you're throwing shit at the wall to see what sticks, metaphorically, until you're like, oh, now I can see, now I've got all of these things up there. I can see what the pattern is. So don't think that it shouldn't necessarily feel a bit messy in the beginning. It will feel messy because you don't know what the problem is, and probably the prospect doesn't know as well. You're firing questions at the prospect until you can both see, oh, that's clear. So that's part one. Part two is you said, oh, well, there's multiple problems. There can be a couple, 2 or 3 maximum causes of the problem. But what you were explaining was symptoms of the problem. There can be multiple symptoms, but what is the one, usually one, but sometimes 2 or 3 reason that those things are happening? So if a woman is, you know, constantly attracting these guys that are not compatible and blank and another thing, why are all those things happening? Why are they attracting the guys? Why are they staying with those types of guys? You have to get enough data that you can see, okay, the root cause of all of this is this one thing. If we could solve this one thing, all of your symptoms would be solved. And if you can't get clear as the closer, what is that one thing, then you definitely won't be able to close someone, because you shouldn't be closing someone if you don't know what the solution is. The solution, the root cause solution.
I know, and I feel that because I'm like, dang, I don't. And that moment of like, oh, like that's the problem. And then they should be like, oh, that's the problem. I don't know how to get there because it's just unclear. But I can bring this call review to the next weekly, or if I have something else. But ultimately, I think like what I need to work on is just like what is the problem, and getting them to say what the problem is and what they need in order to solve that problem, what they think they need.
It needs to be the prospect saying what they think they need, but you should probably, not always, but almost always, you should know what the problem is before you're asking the prospect what the problem is, because you should have done enough data gathering that you're like, okay, I can see what's going on here, but I'm going to ask the prospect, why do you think that is? The reason you ask the question, why do you think that is, 9 out of 10 times is because you know what the problem is and you want to see if the prospect sees that as well. 1 time out of 10, you're asking the prospect because you're like, I don't have any fucking idea what's going on here, so I'm going to ask the prospect and see what they think. Not usually though. 9 times out of 10, you should be clear what the issue is.
Okay. And I can present the problem to the prospect, right? Like it sounds like, or it seems like this is the problem, or do I want to make sure, like have them, it's better to have them say it, obviously.
Better to have them say it first, but if they say, I really don't know, you say, okay, well, from where I'm sitting, if I've put the tea leaves together correctly, this is what I'm seeing. You tell them what you're seeing and then say, how do you feel?
Okay.
And then see what they say.
Thank you.
You're very welcome. And be very conscious when you ask them, how do you feel, how they respond to that. If they're like, yeah, that sounds right. That's not a yes. That's a not really sure. Like you have to really stay on that point. Like I was doing with the role play with Ian, like, okay, well, this is what I think's the issue. I thought we were aligned on that. Now you're saying you think it's something else. Let's go back again. Like I'm not moving on until we're both clear what the root cause issue is.
Okay. Yeah.
All right. Jeremy.
Yeah. Question about when you posted the thing about being a brokey and having 50K in the account. When would, like, do I need to have 50K in the account before I try to invest more in my business to try to generate the lead so that I can get the 50K?
I think that's a more complicated answer, and I would say,
okay,
as a business owner, it's a little bit more complex than a closer, how you manage your money. You do need to have a little bit of money every month. So I wouldn't be spending everything you've got and getting yourself into a place of stress and anxiety to grow the business. But at the same time, I wouldn't be trying to just stack $50,000 liquid and not investing anything in marketing, because if that's your source of opportunity, how are you going to get there? Compare that to a closer. Aside from sales training, what other significant investments do you need to make to have the opportunity to make money? Nothing. Like, as long as you're getting sales training and you're paying your bills, you get leads handed to you on your calendar. So you're not investing any money to generate the opportunity to make money. As a business owner, you are the one generating those opportunities. So you do have to put money into that. But I would, if you made $20,000 this month, I wouldn't put 15,000. I wouldn't put 17,500 into ads. I'd be like, right, I'll put, $20,000 after all of your expenses. I wouldn't be putting 17,500 into ads. I'd be like, okay, I'll probably put 12,500, maybe 15,000, and keep 5 to 7 grand every month. So I'm building up my safety net as far as liquid capital.
Okay, so yeah, in terms of like a closer as an example, what about like that $2,000 water machine or like a sauna or things like that will help them?
I mean literally that allows them to close a deal and get paid. The
Gotcha.
water is good for their health and it helps them show up in a better way. But even if they didn't invest in sales training, if they didn't invest in anything, over the next 24 hours, they are going to get 3 opportunities on their calendar to generate, $1,500 to $3,000 in the next 24 hours. Like they get those opportunities on their calendar, whereas you have to put those opportunities on your calendar financially. Yeah.
All right. Thank you.
You're very welcome. David?
Hey, Josh. So I know I'm just about 3 weeks in right now, learning a lot about mastering my state, setting goals, all that good stuff. When it comes to the discovery for the prospects, I'm not into the scriptless selling yet, obviously. But when I ask the main question, what's your biggest challenge right now? It's very technical with crypto. A lot of people will say, oh, I'm here. I've opened up a wallet. Usually it's, I don't have enough time, or it's complicated, or it's risky, something that you could obviously imagine. I'm struggling then, I get caught up in what's the challenge with them figuring this out. But when I try to go into the level of what is the burning problem that figuring this out solves for them personally, like what's really the point of doing this whole thing, that's where it starts to feel a little bit clunky. And I see a lot of prospects that they're pretty high net worth, on paper, at least they say to me, clearly I'm not asking the right questions, I don't like, if I don't do this, I'm okay. So then I try to kind of go about it by saying, okay, well, what's the point then in already doing this if you're already okay? But it feels clunky for me to try to get to what that person's real burning problem is.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Yeah. So given that you're a guy that has blank financially, has your 2 businesses going on, also mentioned that time is a limiting factor for you. Why is mastering this specific type of crypto investing the number one choice for you as far as using the time you have to multiply your money? Something like that. I'd kind of word it like that.
Yeah. Okay.
And then they have to tell you. You're limited on time. You don't need the money. You've got your own businesses. Given all of that, why is learning this crypto trading the number one thing you want to invest your limited time in?
Would you also add in the thing where you would say versus just investing more into your business or investing more time in your business to grow your businesses? Would you add that part, Josh?
If you need to contextualize it, I prefer to keep backup questions in my pocket rather than stack them all into one question. So let's say I ask the question I just shared there, and the guy's like, well, I don't really need to. Now I've got another question, which is, okay, well, if you don't need to, why not just put the money into your existing businesses rather than start something brand new? I've now got 2 questions to try and get to the truth. as opposed to putting all of my eggs in one basket. And then I'm like, oh, well, shit, I've asked both of those questions in one. Does that make sense?
That makes sense, because I think it's a similar situation to me selling to these business owners, like, you know, investing in sales training, kind of like his on crypto. Go ahead.
Absolutely. I agree with you, Jeremy. Exactly. So it's like, Josh, you said, if you don't need to, why not put your money into your existing businesses and start something new? So with that, I'm kind of closing all the other doors in a sense. So they're telling me why they actually want to do this thing. Because, I think it's just
sorry to interrupt. It's just slightly different worded though. Like, why not put the money in your business? They're going to say, well, yeah, I could do that, as opposed to, with the money that you have and the time that you have, why is blank crypto investing the number one thing you want to deploy that time and money into? In other words, I don't want them to say, oh, well, I could, or I couldn't, or maybe, or a bit of, or whatever. I want it to be, you tell me why this is the number one choice for where you want to deploy money and time right now.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think I've been trying to. Absolutely. I think I've been trying to go down an angle of like, if you don't solve this with us, like what happens in the future that's negative, kind of like a consequence thing. But I think I need to focus much more on, you have all this other stuff going on. Also, why now, right? Like why right now?
Why this? And then why now? Yeah. Clear?
When would you ask why
thank you.
with us? Why with us and why now? Would that be kind of the order?
No, why with us is usually after they've told you the things that they need help with to get it figured out. Okay, that makes total sense. So then what was it about us that attracted you to being the people to give you the blank, the blank, the blank, and the blank? Why us? I have to have the things they need to then be able to say, okay, why do you want those things from us?
Okay, so the why us would kind of come more after you asked all those other questions.
Yeah, it's like if you were selling spades to gold miners, someone goes into a row of shops that all sell spades, but they're all different brands. They've already gone to that row, that street of spade shops because they want a spade. Then when they walk into one specific shop is, okay, why did you walk into our shop? Why do you want our spades, not someone else's? You can't really, just go and take someone off the street that isn't looking for spades and say, why do you want to buy our spades? They're like, well, I wasn't even looking for spades. Make sense? All right, brother, I've forgotten how to pronounce your name with the French twist.
No. Joachim.
Joachim.
Yes.
How we doing, brother? How can I help?
Yes, awesome. Until now, the training, like very sharp, like straight to the point, good shit. And I have a question, actually, like same niche than David, crypto too, and kind of the same thing. It's like my opening, I ask my opening question to the prospect, and so like what's the biggest reason you want to invest in crypto right now? And the prospect answer me like diversification, to diversification. I'm not trying to be a millionaire. Yes, just diversification. And it's like no urgency. Like the guy is how do we call him? Someone who fly plane, pilot. Yes, pilot.
Yep.
Making 15K a month. He have some investment in the stock market, real estate, but yes, crypto is just to diversify, not trying to be a millionaire.
Got it.
With
So
a very detached tonality.
Okay, so the first mental model is to realize that when people at that level, so not multimillionaires, say diversification, it doesn't mean diversification. Let me tell you what it means very quickly so you can see the complete difference between what it really means. They make $15,000 a month as a pilot. They have a few real estate investment portfolios. They have some cash. And instead of putting that cash into advancing in their career as a pilot by doing more training or putting that cash into real estate, they have realized that the opportunity in crypto to multiply their money is the best opportunity and an opportunity that they don't want to miss out on. That is nothing to do with diversification. It's, I have $50,000 liquid. I could put it into this or this or this or this. With that money, the best thing in their mind to put that money into is crypto. So when they say diversification, you just have to realize they're not multimillionaires that are diversifying. They're average people that have just got more cash to invest and realized of all of the options, this crypto thing is the one that seems like I could make the most money from it.
Yeah, very clear, very clear. And
so when they say diversification, you just ask them more questions about what they've actually got in terms of a portfolio. Just ignore the word diversification. But okay, so you want to diversify, sounds great. What have you got right now in terms of investments? Blank, 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 all different things. Got it. How much liquid capital are you looking to multiply? $50,000. Okay, got it. So you got $50,000 you're looking to multiply. Why is crypto the number one thing that you want to deploy that liquid capital into, as opposed to more real estate, this, that, and the other? Oh, because I want to diversify. Okay, why do you want to diversify into crypto instead of putting it into just another real estate portfolio? And you just have to stay on them. Eventually, you may have to just say, so do you feel that the amount of money you could or would make from more real estate is the same or less than or more than if you deploy this capital into crypto? You need them to tell you that they think they can get a better return on investment from putting it in crypto than in real estate. Just wanting to put it into a different asset class is not a strong enough reason that someone's going to take action. Unless they're actually like a serious player that has multiple millions in real estate and is like, actually, you know what? I do want to play around in crypto and diversify into crypto. But if someone's just got a normal job, diversification is just not the answer.
Yes, yes, that makes a lot of sense. But it's also this type of prospect, I didn't get to the point of burning desire. Like, yes, he would actually tell me that, yes, crypto, I have already real estate, I already have stock. So why not crypto? I know it can pump. It's good if it's pump, but you know, I don't need it. It's long term. It's like more like, why not? I have some little cash to make crypto. Why not if you can pump? But there is no urgency, you know.
So how long have you been holding on to that liquid capital?
Actually, it's not like you have a lot of liquid in the bank. It's like, I don't know how to tell, but it's like you have 200K in stock. You have like probably some liquid cash.
Okay,
like
let me role play with you. Okay, so you've got $200,000 in stocks. How long have you had $200,000 in stocks?
Like 10, 15 years.
10, 15 years. And what are you getting as far as a return on investment from that on a yearly basis?
I made the digit up, but it's maybe 10%.
10%. Okay. So over the last 12 months, was that what you made, 10% return on investment?
Yes, approximately.
Okay, got it. So you made $20,000. So you've had that money in the stocks for 10 to 15 years. During that time, has there been any other vehicles that you've been looking at taking that money out of stocks and putting it into something else?
I have real estate.
No.
Really.
Okay, no. So you haven't had any other things over 10 to 15 years that you considered taking that $200,000 out of the stocks and investing it into something else? You've never had any desire to do that?
No.
Okay. So why do you have that desire now to take it out of the stock market and put it into crypto?
Oh, I can see with the news, like I have some friends who invest in crypto. They talk about it to me, like end of 2024 with the news, with Trump. So I say to myself, why not?
What do they talk about with you?
Like they invested and they had some return on investment.
What have they told you has been their return on investment?
I don't really know, but it was.
You didn't ask them?
Yes, but I don't remember exactly, but it was better than what you can do in the stock market.
How much better? Like 1%, 5%, 20% better?
No, much better. Some have been 100%.
So they're getting 10 times the return on their investment. So you make $20,000 in 12 months and they make $200,000, ballparking the numbers.
Yes.
So let me ask you, how much longer do you want to flush an extra $180,000 down the drain every 12 months by holding that money in stocks?
Okay.
Nothing to do with diversification. I'm just going to gather the data until I bury you.
Okay.
Does
Yes,
that make
nice.
sense?
Yes, makes total sense. Yes.
I was doing well selling crypto, brother. So
Yeah.
crypto is a good one to sell. Yeah. Which is funny because people listen to the dating calls and they're like, oh, well, this is completely different. It's like, nope, it's still data gathering. Data gathering, show them the comparison of what they're doing versus, whether they want to stay there. How much longer do they want to stay there? Same thing, same questions. Same questions, any industry.
Oh, good shit. Yeah. Yes. Thanks.
You're welcome, brother. If you need to role play with anything, just bring it to the Wednesday call and we can role play, okay? Or if you
thank you.
Are you doing your calls in French or English?
Yes, French.
Okay, got it. All right. Guys, we have 9 minutes left. Max, are you wanting to role play for 9 minutes? We can role play for 9 minutes if that's what you want.
I had a question for this role play with.
Oh, okay, perfect. Yeah. What's the question?
Yeah. So because you're like, how much longer was pretty early, right? So I mean, it was fast.
Yeah, I'm exaggerating a little bit. Like I'm just showing for
Joaquin.
Joaquin. Sorry, guys.
It's not in your English.
I keep reading it and I think it's Joaquin, but it's not. It's
The jo is not in the English, I think, phonetics.
No, it's not Joaquin.
Yes.
I'm exaggerating a little bit, Max, just because I'm not going to run a 30-minute discovery. But I've got enough of the bare bones to show how am I selling it. I'm not selling how much longer do you want to be undiversified? How much longer do you not want to have diversification? No. How much longer do you want to literally choose to keep your money in a place that is going to be losing you the money that you could be making if you moved it today? I just wanted to show how I can actually see the big picture.
Right.
As far as this is why you'd be stupid to not move the money. Does that make sense?
Yeah, but can you ask it in the middle of the discovery, like how much longer, and then just kind of gather like
absolutely. I could have asked that question. He could have said not another day, and I'd say awesome. So I'm curious. You've had this $200,000 in the stocks for 10 to 15 years. You had a conversation with your friends. Multiplying your $20,000 passive income or growth every year by 10x and turning it into $200,000. Is there any type of end goal that you have in mind as far as what you want to do with that money that you haven't been able to do because you've only been earning $20,000 a year? Oh yeah, I've always wanted to get a second house or to move house or to do this or to do that. Okay, interesting. How long have you wanted that? Why do you want that? Anybody else in your family that wants that? Oh, my wife wants the bigger house as well. How long does she want a bigger house? Oh, okay. So was there any other ways that you were planning to make that happen? No, honestly, it was just a dream and we never had a way to make it happen. I can absolutely just keep going in the discovery and go deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper into it's not the 200,000 or it's not the $180,000 extra. It's so how much longer do you want to leave your money in an investment vehicle that guarantees that you'll never be able to buy a bigger house for you and your wife, knowing that she's, sorry to be offensive to any ladies here if I pick the number wrong here, but she's 32 and she knows that she's only got 3 years left to have children before she may be too late. And she's been waiting for you for the last 10 years or 15 years while you've had the money in the portfolio. How much longer are you going to punish her like that and make her potentially never be able to have kids because you don't move your money around? I could absolutely do that. I can just go so many more layers deeper. It was just a simple example. But yeah, you can ask that question in the middle and then just keep going if you want to keep going.
Yeah, that makes sense. One question. So today I had a call and I just wanted to like get data on financial stuff for the guy, and because he said to me that he wants to make more money. That's basically why he wants to create this offer. And he was like, oh yeah, I mean, like, so the revenue of my company is like I just can't tell you like what is the revenue, right? And I was like, all right, I mean, we are on this call because you just want to make more money, basically. So how do you want to talk about it if you don't want to talk about your current revenue, right? So how would you approach it if someone just tells you something like this?
Probably very similar to what you're saying. I just say, well, this call is about having a no BS conversation about what you've got going on now in terms of finances, investments, and then if what you've got going on is aligned and what you want to do moving forward is aligned with what we've got going on over here, then we can jump into all those details. If you don't want to share with me the information that I need to gather to understand, if we could work together, that's not a problem at all, but it would be the end of the call.
Okay, because basically that's what I wanted to know. If you would just kind of, because you wouldn't move forward without this information, right?
Can't close someone without that information, no. The only way I might move forward is if I can tell that they are like mega successful, like they've got a really nice office and a really nice suit. I might just say ballpark the number. I might not need an exact, if they could say over 10 million a year, that's enough. Like I don't need more detail than over 10 million a year. If they say like, oh, 1 million or a few million, I'm going to say, okay, well, like 1, and then they'll say, no, like 5 or 6. Okay, 5 or 6. That's ballpark enough. I've got enough information. Yeah, but I need to know, is it 1 million a year? Is it 10 million a year? Is it 5 million a year? Is it 100 million a year? I need to have a ballpark number. Otherwise, you can't close them because you can't solve the problem. It's like someone being a fitness trainer, and you can use this analogy, by the way. Say it's kind of like if you were a fitness trainer and someone came to you and said, hey, I want to get in better shape. The first thing they would say is, can you step on the scales? And if the person is not willing to step on the scales for whatever personal reason, that's totally fine. They're well within their right to not do that. But the personal trainer would say, hey, if we can't have an open and honest conversation, then I can't be your trainer. Yeah.
Yeah. Makes sense.
Beautiful. All right, guys, I have another call that I have to hop on. It is a pleasure as always. How do we all feel? Everybody good?
Very good. Thank you.
Excellent. You're welcome. Guys, I'll see you inside school and I will see you on Friday. I'll see you all soon. Later, guys. Bye. So there you have it. You have just been absolved from ignorance. What do I mean by absolved from ignorance? You now know what it really takes. You know the level of commitment. You know the level of training. You know the level of weekly showing up, putting in the work, and getting mentored that it truly takes to be what we call a unicorn closer. Now, if you're not where you want to be as a high-tier closer, I need to be honest with you. You are exactly where you are supposed to be, not making the money that you truly want to be making as a high-tier closer. You're exactly where you're supposed to be, because where you are is a result, unlike these closers that turn up on a weekly basis for 4 to 5 hours to train. You are exactly where you're supposed to be because of not showing up, not putting in the work, and not having a mentor. Now, have you looked in the mirror and admitted that to yourself, that you are exactly where you're supposed to be? If the answer is yes, and you are being honest with yourself, then the question is, what are you going to do about it? If you want to keep living in denial, you have my permission. But the bottom line is there are closers that are making 2x, 3x, 4x, 5x, and 10x the amount of money that you are making. These closers that are showing up, that are putting in the work, and that are getting access to the mentorship from someone who has already accomplished what they say they want to accomplish. These closers are not smarter than you. It is not because they have a higher IQ than you that they are making more money than you. It is simply because they are not living in denial that they were exactly where they were supposed to be. And they admitted that to themselves. They looked in the mirror and they said, this is my fault. I am not making the money as a high-tier closer that I truly want to be making. I'm not living out of this shit dump hole that I'm living in. I am not traveling business class. I am not retiring my parents. I am not driving the supercar that I want to be driving. I am not living the life that the best, highest version of me would be living. And they looked in the mirror and they admitted it. They said, you know what? I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be. And enough. I am done being here. I am going to show up. I am going to put in the work, and I'm going to get the mentor that I need. And as a result of that, as I said at the beginning of this video, we have closers that have gone from 5K a month to well past $30,000 a month by getting access to the mentorship, the community, and the standards that allows them, or actually forces them, to either show up or get left behind, put in the work or get left behind. And we have closers as a result of that turning up to this weekly live training for 4 hours a week that you have now been able to see behind closed doors what we do and the level that we train at. And those closers, like Skylar, are now making $83,000 a month in commission. Those closers like Manuel are now making $63,000 per month in commission. And so if you're willing to be honest with yourself and admit to yourself, I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be, and you look in the mirror and you say that, the question is, what are you going to do about it? And when are you going to do something about it? If the answer is, I'm going to do something about it, I'm going to show up, I'm going to put in the fucking work, I'm going to get the mentor I need, and I'm going to do that right fucking now, then underneath this video is a link to join us on the inside of the Unicorn Closer Mastermind, where you get access not just to spectate for 4 hours once, but every single week to participate in these live trainings every single week. If you are done living in denial, lying to yourself that you're exactly where you're supposed to be based on not showing up, not putting in the work, and not having to the mentor that you need, if you're willing to stop lying to yourself and stop living in denial, below this video is a link to join us on the inside, and I look forward to seeing you on the next live training inside the training. I'll see you soon.